Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 176th live stream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I am your host, Vortex, and this is a very special D&D Discussions, as it is our 2-year anniversary. So join us in celebrating 2 years on Twitch, 2 years on YouTube, and we are celebrating not only with some updates and some changes to the stream, as you'll see here in just a second, but we're also going to be celebrating with a new review from a brand new submitter. So join us today. I'm very excited. I hope you are. I hope you're here to celebrate with us. 2 years is a long time, but let's begin. Are you ready, Kage, for the great reveal?
I am very excited.
After 2 years, I thought it was a good time to perhaps update some things.
Sure. I mean, you know, I'm always here for some little updates, little changes, little...
That's what I thought. I thought it was time to spruce things up a little bit. Thank you, Serotonin. Glad you're here for the review. We are here for the great reveal of the next phase of D&D discussions.
The next phase. All right.
I love this part. Oh, I like that. I like that. Welcome to our new chat cam.
Ooh, very cool.
Very different, little different. It's fine, but one key factor is we will now have a bit of a bio.
Okay.
Now, everyone.
I see. Very cool.
This bio is not complete. For not only did I post in Discord about questions you might want to know about us or streamers in general, with the things that you'd like to know.
Sure.
Those will be added to the list below. And if you want to get some more information, you can purchase it for channel points, for that XP that you're earning by watching us.
Love it.
Now, if you go into your channel points, you will see that everything has actually rearranged. I've repriced everything. Most of the prices have come down. On about 90% of everything has dropped dramatically in price. This is to allow y'all to just interact more and reward those just for showing up, because a lot of the times there's people that hang out, but we had a lot of things that were really expensive. So yes, we now have a lot cheaper interactive options. So take a look at those channel points. But yes, Soul was correct. 15,000 points to unlock a bio. That will unlock it for both of us, and you get to choose what you unlock. So below, you'll see we have just a couple suggestions. These aren't the only things you can ask. You can ask things beyond this, but these are just some suggestions. But we have, for instance, we have our names, we have our positions, and I have, High Point, have Cineverse, our preferred pronouns, and then we just have a list of suggested items that you may want to know about us. Things like our favorite food, our favorite color, our favorite animal versus our favorite pet. These are all different things that you can ask us. There may be others. TTRPG would kind of be a silly question.
Sure.
But favorite video game. It doesn't have to be favorites. It could be,
ones that you're really vibing with right now.
Yeah, obviously no telling personal information, but like the type of area you grew up at. Was it, was it like downtown kind of? Was it rural? Was it like outskirts? Things of that nature. Just basically anything that you're interested in knowing. If we can bullet point it, it will go in the bio below, and it will just continue to stack.
Slay, I like it.
So that's one new feature that goes along with all of this. Yours is hard to read, Vortex. The dark purple against the background is difficult. That does make sense, and I know that as we write things, the text will get smaller, so we'll have to work a little bit on that. Would a lighter color be easier to read? Because what I could do is lighten that up quite a bit.
I don't know. Could you give it a background? Like maybe
is that easier to read, Soul? Adding a little bit of brightness to it should make it a little bit easier to read.
I would agree.
This is just our chit chat cam. So I do have also our little avatar cycling, just because we add those.
I do love that.
It's just kind of little funsy stuff. I think for newcomers, it'll be nice. They'll see our names, see a little bit snippet of us. They'll see the avatars. They may recognize us a little bit. I don't have my hair back today, but that's fine. I think it'll be obvious.
I gotta get my hair braided again.
You didn't wear your shirt.
What's that?
You didn't wear the shirt.
Oh, that's true.
It's fine. That's so much easier. Awesome. So this is it. And if you'll notice, this is where the testing came in, Nugget. If you noticed, you'll notice that your chat looks different.
Yes, I like the way that looks.
So
That's very cool.
I've been struggling because as much as I don't want to give up D&D in any respect,
sure,
Misfit Gamer Studios needs to be more than D&D moving forward.
Okay.
And we need to embrace that. So as the podcast grows, I did want to get borders for our cameras, but that was what I was messing with right at the very
I did see
end.
that.
That's why we were late.
Gotcha.
But I couldn't figure out a good one, so I don't know what I want to do for actually bordering our cameras.
Okay.
But I like this a lot more as I've been playing with it, as I've been looking at other streamers, other podcasters. I still like our cameras, but I did see the kind of weirdness with just having us just plastered on the screen.
Got you.
I'm not ready to solidify a background just yet, like a permanent background or a permanent animation to just cover up the dead space. So this is what I'm having for right now.
Okay.
This is just kind of this is our general chat cam, and we can just, do whatever here.
Right.
But we also have some other options. So I thought about the bio, and I thought about, wanting to keep it going and things of that sort. So maybe we keep the basics down here.
Okay.
But whenever we want to go and chit chat and watch, and have to look up something, I also thought I should bring the bio over. So in here, we also have the same thing, as you can see, the same bio that will transition over. This one just clears the dead space that used to be below us.
Got you.
And people can still see it. We still have our thing cycling here in the middle. Chat's in the middle. This one's a little bit more D&D focused, but maybe I don't know if you guys like the other the other text, so maybe I'll change this text also over to like the video game.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the MGS needs to be more D&D as a category is D&D. Yeah. Well, again, the D&D discussions is D&D, right? Like,
sure.
Like Monday, Fridays are always going to be D&D discussions. I don't want to change that aspect. But what I'm recognizing is, as a brand, we need to be able to embrace. Like I've been thinking about, like, how do I want to, do this? How do I want to put the info on screen? How do I want to do backgrounds? And I'm realizing I don't want to stick to just the same thing we've been doing for all of our custom content.
Okay.
Like the scrolls that we've been using for sublane and subclasses and pop culture builds. Those are great. That's kind of what we want for D&D content. But I don't want to make that permanent for the general brand.
Right.
I kind of want to mix it up a little bit.
I feel that.
So in cases like this, when we're just chit-chatting, we may not be chit-chatting every single time about D&D. Mondays and Fridays, yes.
Sure.
But we could go on a tangent. In the beginning of streams, we just chit-chat about anything in general.
I feel that.
So
I totally feel that.
I wanted to just develop this a little bit more. But like the digital chat, like the video game text, I just want to start embracing more stuff.
I do like that. I really do like that.
I have an idea for the next non-D&D discussion series, because while I do want to expand, I know we've talked a lot about wanting to do more D&D discussions, and if we ever did, it would be more homebrew review.
Sure.
But again, looking at the future, we do want to do the ADMG. A lot of the stuff that we want to produce is D&D related, but I still want to do other stuff. Other TTRPGs, other games, whatever. We still have the gaming streams, kind of still going to be casual.
Right.
But I was thinking, I think I've figured out, on top of the community stream, I think I figured out the next addition to our repertoire.
Okay.
I want to do it at least once a month with you and Vixie. So I want to do it once a month with you and Vixie at minimum. We may be able to get Lucifer involved. We may be able to get the Wanderer involved.
Okay.
Depends. But at least once a month, now that we have the tavern mostly set up, even before I get the big game room set up and the big gaming table, I want to start incorporating that. So at least once a month, what I want to do is a series called Board Game Night. Not board game night.
Right.
Board
Got it.
game night, where a group of friends get together. Like the whole premise is a group of friends get together because they're bored and play
They're bored, and then we play games. Okay.
And if anybody's been part of the Discord, you've seen the pictures of the tavern. We have the entire wall of games. We can play just one a night. We can get on stream, open a game, read through the instructions as if no one's ever played before.
Sure.
Even if it's a classic game, just do it for the content.
Just run it. Yeah.
We can stream us playing the game for an hour or two, and then I can chop that up into a video, and then that can just be one playlist on our YouTube channel of Board Game Night, where we're just literally going through every game we own, reading the instructions.
I like that idea.
Because some games are pretty common. You know, we have Sorry, we have Catan, we have games people have always played. And then we have Betrayal on Haunted Hill, or Betrayal at the House on Haunted Hill.
Okay.
We have Suro. We have Monty Python Flux, games that people may or may not have actually had. And then we have other people, we have other friends who have other games. Lucifer has made mention several times about wanting to show off some games that they have. They recently got a Monty Python, not TTRPG, but interactive game. Yeah. I don't really understand it. He tried to explain it to me a bit. It's very strange. It's definitely not yours. It's not a TTRPG in the Monty Python universe like I thought.
Right.
At first, I thought it was a TTRPG based off of Holy Grail. That's not what it is. It is 100% based off the entire Monty Python IP and essentially everything that they are. But it's not a TTRPG. It's more, from what I can understand, it's intended to be played over the top and way too serious, like you're supposed to take yourself seriously, kind of like they do. And from what I could gather from what Lucifer was mentioning is you essentially are TTRPGing or playing the roles of what I assume are like what the actors would be. So you're not replaying what they did, but there's plenty of references. But it seems like it's a board game intending to be a sketch comedy.
Interesting.
So instead of being adventurers in a TTRPG, you are sketch comedy improv comedians attempting to act like you are the crew of Monty Python doing skets. And I guess the game kind of gets very weird, just like the show. Like you have things that you're doing, and then out of nowhere, someone will trigger something that'll be like, all right, time for something completely different. And that's it.
Right.
You are done doing what you were doing.
Whatever was that. It's just
and
gone.
Now it's gone. And now you're doing something else. And there's a weird board game aspect. There's actually like physical things you can do, but it's not like a board game as in you go around the board. But there are physical things that you can do. There's a catapult mini game that has physical pieces.
Wild.
There's some strange things in it. It sounds fascinating, but it is not something like you just sit down and learn in an afternoon.
Right.
But it's also something I would love to understand.
That would be a whole experience.
If Lucifer can like really absorb enough of it to it, because what I don't want is a 6-hour session where 90% we're just reading through the book.
We have no idea what's going on.
And if that's the experience, maybe we try that on a dedicated stream. If we figure out that that's the dedication, it's more of that. But if it is more of an interactive thing, I feel like we need at least someone ready to just give that information out and get everybody on board really quick.
No, I totally
Instead of everybody trying to learn all at once, someone has to be very well knowledged enough to say, here's how it works,
what's going on,
and give everyone their line, give them their cue. So I'm really fascinated about this, and I've been thinking about it, and that's what I want to do next. I think the best thing that we can do, because
I think that's a sick idea.
Every now and again, I stream video games. You stream video games. It's just not what I really want to be known for. It's not really what I want to do. It is something that I will be doing, but
of course,
beyond that, tabletop, right? Tabletop means more than just RPG.
Yes.
So I feel like that will be our next best way to go, is bringing outside of RPGs, doing tabletop stuff.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's wild. I'm actually really hyped for that. I think that would be way cool.
So I hope everybody's interested in that. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. It would be really cool. We'll do it in the tavern. It'll be, we can easily get you, me, Vixie. If you're not able to make it, I still have Vixie.
Sure.
That we can go with. And if anybody else is able to show up, we can always test out new games. Friends can bring over their own game and we can test out reading the rules. So I'm really fascinated with this. I think it would be a lot of fun. We could do new games, weird games, classic games.
Right.
And just really mix it up. Because some people, like, while everybody knows Monopoly, like there's...
Sure.
When was the last time someone read through the Monopoly instructions?
Yes.
Right? And that would be something that would just be fascinating to do. Kind of like we read the Psionics Handbook. When was just not be for any other reason than when was the last time someone did that? And that's kind of like what I want to do. Everyone knows how to play Sorry. Everybody knows how to, play checkers. But when was the last time you sat down and actually had to read the rules in the way that they were intended to be read?
Yeah.
It's one of those aspects. I think it would be a lot of fun.
No, I'm super not opposed to this. I really like the idea of just being able to explore games and almost, for me, even stuff that I've seen before or I have experienced before, like getting to go through it with somebody who's doing it for the first time. And I think that's a really cool aspect and way we could interact with like chat and our viewers and our community and whatnot. Just like going through these games as though we were going through it for the first time, and then being able to like present that to everybody. And it's a whole new experience getting to like participate with others in their
and you brought up something else that was key. You brought up something else that was super key. So we've been being asked what we're going to do with high points, the currency that everyone's getting in the background while you're watching, not the channel points, which are XP, but the high points in the background. So we do board game night, and whatever game we're playing, because I've figured out that Twitch has a queue system, and we could have an individual like highlighted whenever they talk.
Sure.
You were mentioning being able to get people's first impression. We could have a system where we do a raffle to have someone play with us. Like you don't need to speak to play something like Monopoly. When it's your turn, I can give you a dice roller.
Sure.
I can give you the dice roller that's equal to the dice we're rolling. You can roll it, and boom.
Buy it, yes or no.
We move your piece.
Right.
Explain, do you want to buy it? What do you buy it with? We will show you how much money you have. You can calculate it, keep up. Like most games that don't require...
It's very fair. That's very fair.
Acting, we could easily have everyone put in a little bit of bid, and then we select someone, and then we just play a board game with them. And we could do it to where whenever they talk, we just highlight their chat. I should be able to put it to where when that happens, whatever they say goes through TTS automatically.
Oh, that would be way cool.
So they talk through stream.
Yeah.
So these are ideas that I've been having, and I'm like, I don't need to wait for us to have a game table. We have the tavern ready enough. We have enough games. I'm only thinking maybe once or twice a month, just more or less as our schedule fulfills. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be on a specified day.
That would be really clean though.
I think that would be so much fun. And starting with tabletop board games is the break into it. And then that's where maybe one of those days we do Call of Cthulhu, or we do a Pathfinder game, or at least read through it. We at least try to read through some of the core mechanics and get an idea.
I do think that'll be like a really, really good starting point, either when we start doing that or like running through one shots like we were talking about, like knowing what like a flow like that would even look like. We'll kind of determine like, hey, all right, so if we're trying to go through Call of Cthulhu, like how would we go about presenting a lot of that stuff? So no, I feel that. I for sure feel that. I think that's way cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
I think that's gonna be awesome.
So that's coming down the line very, very quickly.
This is gonna be very cool stuff that we got coming up in the future.
If we can't do it this month, I'm hoping that we could do the first board game night next month.
Yeah.
If not this month, next month will be great. I think that'll be a lot of fun. It can be on a weekend. It can be whenever we can fit it in. That'll be super fun. And yeah, other than that, community stream has been chosen.
Yes.
The vote is in Discord, so you guys can go and vote right now in Discord for this month's community stream. Mm-hmm. And next month's community stream, as some of you have already figured out, is ready to go, so you can start bidding for next month's community stream right now in Twitch. And then for those of you who are new, you can join the Discord. Oh, another big update to Discord. There is going to be some changes. I still have been super, super lazy and haven't fixed the onboarding process.
Oh, that's right. We were going to be. Yeah, that's right.
But that may not be a problem much longer.
Oh.
Much, much longer. I mean, I say much longer. It'll probably be a problem for a while. But right now, looking at the Discord, we have about 6, 9, 12. We have about 30 people in the Discord right now.
Okay,
that's hefty. I'm super impressed. I'm super, super impressed. So with that, I always thought about 100 being the cutoff point, and it still might be. But 50 is also looking pretty nice. At 2
Pretty
years,
doable.
We're going pretty doable. But I feel like 100 would be a healthy community first.
Okay.
But regardless of the number I choose, or we choose, I should say, and maybe the community, you guys can chime in chat and let us know what you think a good number is. But I want to close down the Discord. I want to close down the public link that I post in like at every stream I always post the Discord link.
Sure.
There's going to be a point to where we reach a number in the Discord where I'm going to shut it down. Everybody currently in is grandfathered in.
Sure.
And that is where I think the start of our membership will begin. Because by that time, I mean, we'll long since have the website. The Oracle will be up and running. And instead of doing a Patreon, or, maybe, I mean, it's essentially the same thing as a Patreon. And whether or not people trust Patreon versus directly through the website, either way, I'm looking at it, it will be a situation of there'll be a membership dedicated to getting you access to features of the website as well as the Discord. But I want to make sure that the Discord is big enough, which is why I always imagined at least 100 people.
Right.
Because then I feel like at least it would be able to sustain itself if a conversation were to be had.
Sure.
Right now, even with 30 people, there's still only probably, I would say, like 10 majorly active people.
Okay.
That are regular in the Discord.
Sure.
So with 100, hopefully that would be...
I think 100 is a pretty decent number, and I think you're right, especially by the time we get that much. We're for sure going to have the Oracle, we're for sure going to have the website, we're for sure going to have a lot of these other things that are going to make that process really worthwhile. And
I know some of our long-term people will like this other idea, the other reason why I'm going for it. It will vastly limit, well, not vastly limit the amount, well, it will, but it will just vastly decrease the amount of homebrew submissions. Because let's say we have 200 people watching.
Right.
But only 100 in the Discord.
Yeah.
Even though those 100 can give us 100 each.
Sure.
You still have to join the membership, get into the Discord to even be able to submit to us. Or that's, again, maybe if we integrate that into the website. Like you were saying, do a form. But that's still part of the membership.
Exactly.
So that's where I'm thinking this idea of thinking about when the cutoff will be. Because if you only have 50 people in the Discord, someone pays for the membership and joins, and it's kind of still dead, they're going to feel ripped off. But at least if there's 100 people in there, they've not only 100 people for the content, for just the general interaction, but that's 100 people that have been there the longest.
Sure.
All of them get the access for free for a life. And that's how I'll treat it, is unless you get banned or something falls out, if you're in the Discord when we cut it off, you'll be in the Discord for life. So you'll never have to buy a membership.
Sure.
Just to be in the Discord. That'll be our
gift to those who helped us get to that point.
Exactly. And honestly, when we get to a point to where we get a membership on the website, I will probably end up giving months, if not a whole year free to, if not the first subscribers or our VIP. Like the VIPs will probably get a year free. Our current subscribers will probably get a year free. And then even all of our current users, I'll probably give like 3 months, 6 months.
Sure.
When we finally get that. Because that's the idea, right? Is you've been here the longest. You helped us get to this stage. We wouldn't have made those moves without everybody.
Sure.
So why would I turn around and be like, hey, you helped me get to this really cool stage and make me build this cool thing. Now pay for me for the right to use the thing you helped me build. I don't feel right by doing that. Whereas
I totally feel that.
I can't give it to you for free forever. Like the Discord I can. But it's like there's a point at which I can at least represent or respect the fact that you shouldn't have to pay the full price up front for something that you helped build.
Yeah.
So those are the ideas that I'm thinking of, is now that we're taking things seriously, now that we're at that 2-year mark, being able to think about things we can give back, right?
No, I really like this.
It's not just merch at this point. It's not just more content, but what are things that are tangible? Being in the Discord, being able to directly message us and ping us, being able to submit homebrew for the stream, being able to vote. Again, at that point, we get 100 people in the Discord and then we cut it off. That's 100 people to vote on community streams. And that becomes a true community stream. Only those in the Discord. So that means that just to vote on anything, and then all the votes will be free. Everything that we do in the Discord, I won't add an additional barrier unless it's like a giveaway. But that would be the idea, is you can end up having so many more people jump into the Discord. And I don't know if I would have a separate section of the Discord that might still be free just for general purposes.
Sure.
Or have a whole brand new Discord that's just a public one for like a general fan discussion. And
That's
then we
interesting.
have like a private one that we
Right.
generally like interact with. Excuse me. So I haven't felt that far ahead.
Okay.
But as I think about our development and what I want to offer, these are the things that I feel like I would be comfortable charging someone a monthly or a yearly price if those are what's coming with it. Right now, I don't feel like I have anything to offer. Every subscription is amazing to me because I don't really feel like, other than just regular content, I don't know. I feel like I'm comfortable enough to say I have something worth charging for.
Right.
Which is why I'm so hesitant to make even something off of our avatars. Because as much as they're nice, I just don't know if they add enough value to be cost worthy.
Right. Okay. No, I definitely get where your head is at on this front, but no, I think the direction you're headed, the ideas that you have, I think they're gonna be way cool. And I'm hoping, depending upon how the community reacts to it, like maybe you guys are really excited for stuff like this too.
I mean, the community ain't reacting at all, so apparently no one cares about any of this. Maybe I should just shut up, do reviews.
Listen,
maybe that's all they care about, is they just want me to shut up, do the reviews.
Sometimes there's delayed reactions. I think that sometimes when they see the breadth of something actually hit them, it's a whole different story. So
come on, Mr. D&D man, just get to the beef, just get to the juiciness.
Wild.
But yeah, so those are the things I'm thinking. I would love to know what you think in chat. Wow. I would love to know what you guys think in chat about everything, about the changes. I feel like, and let me know about the prices too. The new prices for all of the XP, all of the channel points. I feel like everything's a little bit more tangible now. Everything's a lot more approachable. We won't get people who just join the chat spamming anything, but those have been here at least a couple hours, get the vibe, and I feel like that's enough time to let people just then have at it. So all of the stuff's a lot more achievable. I think the only thing that we really increased the price of was the no cursing, simply because that costs money to me.
Sure.
And the fact that lasts 30 minutes, but I still think that's valid. Everything else has pretty much gone down in price. I think like switch spots went up, the TTSs went down, the DM question and our specific questions for our settings went down.
Got you.
And then all of the other ones, all of the notification sounds went down. Everything's been sounding good. Awesome. I'm glad those audio cues are working again finally.
I know, right?
So what do you guys think? So just chat. What do you think overall about so far the changes? Visually, how is everything going? I think I have noticed a final good balance in our audio. I finally think we've stopped peaking too hard, but we're also not cutting out anymore.
Okay.
I haven't seen anybody over the last couple weeks say that, our voices are cutting out when we're just like doing something like that. And I haven't heard in our recent edits any issues with like overpeaking.
Okay.
Another sound we should get is the Bob Ross slap the devil out of it.
Bob Ross. That's a Bob Ross sound?
Is what? Let me find this. Can I get this? Where do I get where did I get my sounds? I forgot. Audio's been good lately. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
All right, I'll be right back.
Is it Streamlabs that I get? No, that's not it. I'm drawing a blank on where I got all of my other ones. Is it Streamlabs? I have like 3 things that control it. It's so crazy. It might be Streamlabs. Let me double check. None of this is right. None of this is right. Why? What am I thinking of? Chat, help me out here. Where would I get audio? It's like right on the tip of my tongue. I know I'm gonna feel stupid, but where do you get the audio when you play the clips? There's a website specifically for it that integrates. Is it Sound Alerts? Is that one? No. Yes, it is Sound Alerts. Thanks, chat.
Hooking it up, chat.
Okay, there we go. That's what I needed.
They gave me just what I needed.
Okay. So. My alerts. I can only have 10. I have to get rid of one if I wanted to add another one. That sucks.
Rude.
So we have to have a vote. I have to figure out, where did I actually get the sound though? That's what I need to figure out. Where did I get the sound from? Did I get it from this website? Did you find it here? I am so lost. Like I did this so long ago. I've honestly forgot.
So you don't like import them from this website? There's not like a search bar or something like that. You can just.
It might be. Let's see. Oh, it might be. Yeah, it might be from here. Posted Bob Ross in sub chat. Okay, let me see real quick. Okay. Oh.
Shake off the excess and just beat the devil out of it. I'm just looking for an excuse to wash the brush. Shake off the paint thinner.
Wild. Beat the devil out of it.
And just beat the devil out of it. Shake off the excess. And just beat the devil out of it.
All right. Is that the one that we want? Do we want to replace one of ours with that?
I mean, I do love beating the devil.
But what would we replace? We got.
What do we have? What do we have?
What do we have? Chat. What do we have? Let's see. Which one was it? All right. What do we have? Well, we have the Yay Pain from Hasman Hotel. We have Weak. We have Owen Wilson's Wow.
Love the Wow. Can't get rid of that.
We have the Hasman Hotel. This just got interesting. We have That's a Lot of Damage. We have Alistair's Good Job monologue. And then we have Monty Python's Get On With It.
Get on with it. We tangent a lot. We gotta have it. Get on with it.
I feel like, yeah. Get rid of the Tired and Hungry. I think I'm the only one who's ever used Tired and Hungry.
Which one?
The Thor. I'm Tired and Hungry.
Oh,
I think that's the only one. That might be the only one.
Okay.
So if we get rid of Tired and Hungry. All right, that's a fair. See, this is what happens after 2 years. You get to make decisions. Let's see. Find Tired and Hungry. Yo.
That's what happened when chat gives us their input. Woot woot.
Edit media.
Well, this just got interesting.
Love that.
Forgot how to do this. Okay, so tired and hungry. I'm tired and hungry. So if I go back to Twitch. Tired and hungry still here. No, so tired and hungry should now be gone off of the list.
Okay. Can I check that?
So, Bob Ross beat the devil out of it. How much are those other ones right now? This one's 250.
Yep. No tired and hungry.
Wait, what do you mean? You can't have more than 10 channel points. I don't. That button. That one. Okay. Okay. There, and then boom, there, and then
Allergies are the worst friends.
there you go.
Boom.
Your wish is my command.
Boom.
It's done. Have fun with it. I hope it's good. I hope it's everything you ever wanted.
What's it called?
And just beat the devil out of it.
Yeah.
You guys happy now? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. And just be.
Is that what we're just gonna do every year? Is we're just gonna figure out how to change things? We're just gonna live stream
Yeah.
the
No, I
dev.
like that. I like that.
It's out of stock. Oh, let me change that. My bad.
Oh,
And just beat the devil out of it.
there we go.
That may have been a cooldown. Let me double check what it's cooldown. Let's see. Redemption cooldown time 0 minutes. No, there is no cooldown. So, all right, yeah. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's any others that you think we should swap out, let us know. You see how that works?
Now that we know that we're at max right now.
Yeah, now that I know how to do it, you'll have to let us know which one you want us to replace and which one you want us to replace it with.
That'll be kind of chill because we can always come back to this episode if we need to figure out how to do it again.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. That was a nice little detour. Are we ready for the review?
We are so ready for this review. Serotonin, are you hyped for this review?
I don't think I have any other details. We have the community stream coming up. We have next month's community stream ready to go. I've showed you all of the updates. We're basically ready to go here. Let's go. Let's go time.
Amazing.
I even moved our cameras on this one too. So we're we have this little bar. Like I have this little bar right here, and you got the other one. So
Oh yeah.
we're just. I think what someone mentioned in chat, like with chat being in between us, it was kind of like it did look weird, and I think it's because we were so far away from it.
Oh,
So
okay.
now we're a little bit closer to chat, so it's more framed and
Got you.
less like just its own thing in the middle. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you guys like the bullet points of our bios always being up, or I can easily just let those go away.
Sure.
So let me know if you guys like the bullets here. I kind of like them on the other channel better, the other page,
Okay.
where it's just like the podcast channel. But I don't know if you guys like having like these.
Being able to see it.
Yeah.
All right.
But when we're doing this kind of stuff, it won't be a big deal. Like if we're gonna do, oh, actually, wait a second. We're doing a review, so I need to come because this is just our normal one for like looking at up stuff. This is our review channel. There we go. Boom. There we go. So,
Bada bing, bada boom.
I don't have. Yeah, that's right. I don't have the bios on this one because the bios are only for when we're just hanging out, chit chat. So there we go. All right, there we are, everybody. Let's take a look at this. So today we have the Mindfrost Crescent. 1-1. I can spell, I promise.
It is noisy.
All right. Good. All right, so we'll do a quick little YouTube intro and then we'll get going. Let me double check and make sure that it looks good here as well. There we are. All right. So we'll do a quick little YouTube intro, and remember, if you wish, when you hear Greetings Gamers, feel free to spam hi YouTube, because people like that on YouTube.
That's right. Let's get it.
Mindfrost Crescent. Boomerang from Serotonin. Mindfrost Crescent. Right. Greetings, gamers, and welcome to another episode from the MisfitGamersStudios. I am your host, Vortex. That gentleman over there is your co-host, Kage, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's episode, we have a community creation, a new one coming from Serotonin, their very first submission, a weapon, a boomerang-type weapon called Mindfrost Crescent. I'm very interested to see this one. I haven't seen a boomerang weapon just yet, plus having anything with elemental damage always gets me excited. So join us today, and let's see what this is all about.
Very excited for this one.
I like that. I liked that. It was pretty smart. Okay. And let us begin. Today we have the Mindfrost Crescent.
And just beat the devil out of it.
Just beat the devil out of it.
All right. Oh, jeez.
Thank you, Hector.
And then suddenly there's that like one tiny ass dry spot in the background.
So disrespectful. At least the intro was clean. Got through that.
I got through that. That's what takes word chat. That's Kage.
Okay.
All right. So the Mindfrost Crescent, again, a boomerang type weapon. Definitely our first for a boomerang.
Yeah.
And I think we've looked up a boomerang before.
We did briefly.
And
yes.
I think it's what, a 1d4 bludgeoning damage.
Yes.
And will return if it misses the target.
If it misses the target.
And that's basically all the standard.
very mundane, very just, yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. It doesn't look like we have any description or lore behind it, so I always
Get right into
wanting
it.
that, but that's okay. Don't need it because we can create our own.
Very true.
So we have properties. This is a melee type weapon. Interesting. Okay, so it does have, never mind, I'm getting ahead of myself. So a melee type weapon, the rarity is rare, and properties are thrown, finesse, and returning, which I do believe that is the returning is the standard.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is, I guess, yeah, it still is just a basic melee weapon. You just can also throw. For some reason, I was expecting calling it a melee weapon just messed with my head.
Yes.
Especially because I intend it to be my mind goes, it's ranged. But saying it's melee just doesn't sound right because I think it's a ranged weapon though. It's like, I don't use it, but I can use it as melee. It's just
like it tripped me up first until I thought of it like a dagger. It's just like a dagger because a dagger is ranged, but it's also a melee weapon.
true.
Right?
It's similar to a javelin.
Sure.
Even though it's a thrown weapon, but it's still technically melee.
Yeah.
You know, so I get it. It's just for some reason that always trips me up, and I don't know why. That's a me thing. All right, the range is 30-90.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is that standard?
I don't know. I feel like a boomerang would have longer, but maybe I'm incorrect about that. Maybe it depends on the size of the boomerang. Ooh. I wonder if that would be interesting to make multiple sizes of this.
Oh,
I do believe
interesting.
that you can make different sizes that go different distances.
I would be interesting to look that up.
And attunement is required.
Attunement is
I'm
required.
curious how that's going to play out. Okay. And is this a provided image?
This is a provided image. That is correct.
All right.
This is Serotonin's beautiful art for this. Now, I don't know if this is something they created for themselves, something that they found or not, but it is very cool.
I mean, it's giving me Moon Knight vibes, unfortunately. Like, I hate to say it, but it's
Lightweight,
definitely giving me Moon Knight vibes. I like it, though.
With a little extra hook out at the end, but yeah.
I like it, though. I like that it breaks the standard. Doesn't matter if you're an artist, it's okay. I use AI for pretty much every thumbnail right now. So until we get artists on board, that's what I'm using. I'm fine with it. I do like the imagery here, though. It breaks the standard. It's, in my opinion, it makes me wonder how big it is. Because now that I think of like a standard boomerang.
Sure.
Around here somewhere. But thinking about the standard size of a boomerang, they're relatively big. So I'm thinking if this thing is, actually I have a boomerang and I have a weapon similar to this in the back room. I could probably hold them up side by side. I don't know where. Oh, you know what? They're in the garage. I could go hold them up side by side and show a real life comparison to this if you guys want to see that. But yeah, I like that it breaks the standard of what you expect a boomerang to be. It's giving me boomerang mixed with shuriken.
Yes, exactly. Like I could totally see what do you call it? There's this one specific Naruto episode where they were like trapped by this one water dude and he was spinning his shuriken. Like I could totally see that like spinning era where he's just like running it around his finger. Like this could be that you spin it around, you throw it, and then it comes back.
Yeah,
that would be very interesting.
All right, Serotonin wants to see it, so let me go grab it, and then we'll do and then I'll do that, and then we'll move on. But yeah, you can talk more about this visual because I like that it breaks the standard of what you expect.
Sure. No, this is very cool, and I like the Moon Crescent vibes because you could definitely tell from looking at it where it's at, and again, I don't know how much this is just coincidence and how much of this is intentional for you, but very much like Vortex, everything matters to me. And so like this purplish bluish jewel that's just right there in the middle, that is so cool. And I'm hoping that like again, I don't remember exactly how this works. I loved putting this together, but I again tried to forget most of what actually occurs. But I'm hoping it has something to do with the activation or its ability or how it works. But I think it could be very cool. I picked through a bunch of the okay, so you were probably what I normally do is I'll like put it up a post. I'll be like give me something that looks like this, and it'll give me whatever it gives me, and then I'll like it or don't like it, and I'll try and like articulate a change to make to it and see what it spits out. And so then I'll end up with like 12 different things, and I'll just kind of look through them and be like, this one gives me the best vibes of what I'm looking for. But one of these, I keep seeing these people who can actually go through and they'll like highlight a portion of the picture that they had created for them and say, hey, change this specific piece to look like X, Y, and Z. Like make this look like anime, or make this face a dog face, or whatever, you know. So I think that's very interesting. So I remember these guys.
So I don't have the sheath for it, so I have to be very careful. So if you want, this is a gift I got when my sister was stationed in Australia.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
You can see that's touching my head. That's as broad as my shoulders, if not broader. So
imagine that thing that we're giving.
So if you want to hold that up to like even closer, because yours is a little bit, I think, easier to like. Yeah. So you guys can see how big that is, like to his laptop. I'm trying to think of anything else that you can compare it to, but that thing's huge. So the thing that I have,
definitely hefty.
The thing that I have in comparison to that is I have this bad boy, and this is exactly what it gave me.
Okay.
Pause to think about.
Yes, that's the perfect crescent right there.
So you can see that this has a
maybe a little bit less around, but yeah, I can totally see just having another little hook coming out the side from that.
Yeah, so it's like it's this without this hand grip.
Batman
but you could even
vibes,
think,
yes.
yeah, you could think that this might be able to, like, where I'm gripping might be down here. So it's like take where I'm gripping here,
Right.
and then turn it this way. So I'd be gripping like this.
Yep.
And that's how I imagine this is being held. Is so if I can hold it like, or so yeah, I would imagine it being held like this. Or no, the image is still the wrong way. There we go. So holding it like, I guess, like this. So I'm equal with the camera.
Yeah.
There we go. So I would imagine
for whatever
that
reason, I imagine holding the part that's coming out the middle instead of the part that's coming out the bottom.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I don't know why.
Like holding the ball like the bulb like that.
Like almost like holding it like that. Almost like I would be throwing a disc golf. A disc golf frisbee.
I think super sharp. So not just the edge, but the tips are like amazingly pointy.
For sure.
But yeah, I can't remember where I picked that up. I have the sheet somewhere, but that, yeah. So there's your like size difference. So I was trying to think of like what size this is. This thing isn't handheld. It's handheld, but it's not like, it's not in the palm of your hand. This thing
very
is
interesting.
This thing is huge.
That's cool. That's very cool. Nothing too crazy happens. Deal with this guy too.
Garage right now with all my other ones, but I haven't figured out where to put them up yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, so that was a nice little detour. Thank you for letting me show that off, Sarah.
Love that.
I'm moving on. So, description. This enchanted boomerang, shaped like a crescent moon, hums with a latent psychic energy and radiates an eerie cold mist. I love the psychic energy. Forged with an unknown silvery blue alloy, its edge shimmers with frost, while its core pulses faintly with psionic energy. I'll get through that sentence eventually.
No, but that's clean.
Okay, so now I'm getting the attunement reason. I love when attunement has to do with psionics. I love anything psionics, you know me.
Of course.
Abilities. This weapon has 6 charges and regains 3 charges at the end of a long rest.
Okay.
Seems to have 2 abilities. Frozen Rebound. When you make a ranged attack with this weapon, you can choose to impose a psychic feint, causing the weapon to intentionally miss its target. Instead of striking immediately, the boomerang veers wide and returns unexpectedly, passing through the enemy from behind. This attack deals 1d8 bludgeoning damage, ignoring resistance to cold damage due to the sudden shock of impact. Interesting. Okay, so by doing this, when you make a ranged attack, you can choose to miss intentionally, and therefore give yourself a guaranteed hit later at 1d8 with cold no resistance.
Is that what it is? Is it a guaranteed hit?
So I'm gonna read it again, but that's how I take it. So it says, when you make a ranged attack with this weapon, you can choose to impose the psychic feint, causing the weapon to intentionally miss. So I don't know if that's intended to imply or read that on hit, you can choose to make it miss, or just that I'm attacking, but instead of rolling my attack this turn, I'm giving it up to guarantee a hit later, which I'm not opposed to. I just don't know. So Serotonin, please verify that little bit of detail for us. Is this intended only when you hit and you're like, nah, instead of doing damage, I'll do it later? Or is this doesn't matter if I'm not rolling to hit, I'm guaranteeing myself that because I missed on purpose, and
sure.
they think, oh, I missed, so it's gonna hit.
And does it take charges to do this thing? Is that what it's saying?
It does not specifically state there's any charges dealt right yet.
Okay.
So it's before a planned attack. So I read that as it's a guaranteed hit. You're foregoing attacking this round to guarantee the hit later.
Interesting.
That's how I read
that. Kind of similar to the weapon we had from Cosmic last week, where you were striking in a square.
Yes.
You're foregoing a hit to like guarantee them if they walk through the square, they'll take the damage. Okay.
So one thing I would like to know about this right up here. Okay, so we are on track. Serotonin confirms. What I would have liked to know up here, Serotonin, and just as an example, is if this is going to go away from the standard base damage for a boomerang, I would like to see that up here. as like in the properties.
Oh, okay.
This because base damage is 1d4. And the only reason why I say that is if this is intended to do the 1d8 normally, okay, fine. The ability is giving me a free hit. But if it's not, this means that it's not only giving me a free hit, but it's potentially doubling my damage, which again, I'm okay with. I just want to make sure we understand what's the intent here, because so far I don't know if this is meant to do the standard damage or not.
Okay. So I'm looking at the original submission just to make sure I didn't write this incorrectly, and I don't see anything specific. I see in the frozen rebound, it says the 1d8 bludgeoning damage, but I don't see anything for like outside of that.
And that's just why when we think about repurposing these, it's obviously magical, but because we don't give it a magical property, we're not giving it magical damage just yet as a base. I don't know if I'm supposed to read this as it does standard when I'm not using this ability. It's just going to do a 1d4. Right. But if I choose to miss, it essentially builds up the extra d4 of damage.
I want to make sure in this first ability it says 1d8 bludgeoning damage. It does not say 1d8 cold damage.
No,
but it does say it ignores resistance to cold damage.
So and that's the other thing. I'm assuming that means 1d8 bludgeoning and cold. Like it's one and the same. It's cold bludgeoning. But that is a little bit weird. So, and I also was going to mention the bludgeoning because it's a bladed weapon, which looks like a bladed weapon. So sure. I'm wondering, should that have been slashing?
Interesting. Yes, I would agree with that, especially with what you could do with this. So
okay. I think we have so as far as we know, Frozen Rebound does not take a charge unless unless all of these are intended to. Serotonin, can you confirm that first?
It would make sense that they're intended to.
And yeah, Eric stays right on par with that. So we're going to go, I have a couple questions, so let's go one by one so Serotonin can keep up with us. So first and foremost, question number one, are these implied that they all take a charge? Is the Frozen Rebound, we haven't gotten to the Frost Surge yet, but does Frozen Rebound cost a charge? It would make perfect sense if it does, because we know that we get up to 6 a day.
Sure.
I would totally get that. I would totally be fine with that kind of a limit.
It's basically you use a charge to get a free hit. That's kind of gangster.
Yeah.
That's kind of gangster. It's not like a crit or anything, but.
So, yep, it uses. Okay, so these are all implied to use the charges. We're good so far. So, my next question. Did you intend for this weapon to be a standard 1d4 as a normal boomerang? And this is doing 1d8 as the benefit? Or does this weapon do 1d8 period? And the ability just delays it.
Got you.
That's the next question. We need to figure that part out, because that will lead into our other questions about damage. But for right now, we just need to understand, is it intended as a D4 unless I'm using this? Or is it always a D8 and this just does the the auto hit? So once we get that, then we can clarify that other question that you had.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense.
D4 base damage. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So I wouldn't mind. It does. I'm not saying that there's like no knock here, but because of that confusion, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put a note somewhere in the description that just says this does a standard 1d4
instead of its base damage.
Or no, it's always a base damage. Like it does a base damage.
Oh, I mean, like it does a d8 instead of its base damage. That way, you know there is a base damage that it does.
That would be the perfect way to do it. Just what Kage said. Just when it says this attack deals 1d8 parentheses, not its base damage.
Got you.
Just some way to say that, okay, it cues me in as a demon as a player. It is just a regular boomerang otherwise. So then the last question so far about this particular ability is, you say 1d8 bludgeoning damage, ignoring cold resistance. So does this mean that, because you can't be bludgeoning and cold, right? D&D doesn't really allow that. It has to be one of the others.
For 5th edition, it's yeah.
My assumption, or at least how normal D&D would write this, so Serotonin, let me know if I'm on the right track here, is this to imply that the first D4, the first 4 are regular, and then it's a D4 of cold damage, and it was written as 1d8? Because that's usually what you see, is it will do its normal damage, but then it will also do its elemental damage.
Interesting.
And so if it's normal 1d4, is the Frozen Rebound the 1d4 plus a 1d4 cold that ignores resistance? Or is this all just 1d8 and is it cold damage? Because I don't know if 5e will allow cold/bludgeoning as one damage type. It usually wants to know how much of each. Because if this is cold and bludgeoning, what if I roll a 4? Is it always 50-50? Or is it the first 4, then the next? You know what I mean? You just want to figure out how am I supposed to divide up?
Yeah. The way I would kind of look at it is probably similar to the way Magic the Gathering looks at something kind of like that. It's like, imagine if a card is more than one color, right? It's both of those colors. So anything that
So it overcomes both bludgeoning and cold.
So if it's resistant to bludgeoning damage but not resistant to cold damage, you still take full damage.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Get you. I get you.
Like it just basically makes it more of a resilient type of damage, slightly.
That would make sense too. So it looks like Serotonin wants to kind of is okay with the first 4 being bludgeoning. So the only then suggestion I would just say is just rewrite this with this attack deals 1d4 bludgeoning damage and 1d4 cold damage that overcomes resistance.
Okay.
And I would be okay with adding that to both. I would be okay with saying this does 1d4 bludgeoning and counts as magical damage and 1d4 cold damage that overcomes resistance because it is a magical weapon.
Sure.
So I would be okay with that. Just you
and you're using a charge to overcome resistance.
Exactly. Sure. So I'm okay just splitting this out 2d4. Bludgeoning overcomes magical resistance and cold overcomes cold resistance, which again only activates when you're using this ability, not normally for it. So I think that would be cool. And I'm okay with this as is. We just wanted to clarify those things.
Sure, 100%.
So I have one more question to clarify how this works. Do you have any more?
We'll see. I think I'm on the same page right now.
Cool. So my final question comes down to when you say, instead of striking immediately, the boomerang veers wide and returns unexpectedly, passing through the enemy from behind. So I'm okay. We're not rolling for it because it's an auto hit. Sure. I'm okay with that. You're burning an ability for it to basically catch them off guard.
Sure.
When is the unexpected? Are you putting this on the DM? And if so, just put in parentheses DM choice. Or what I would do, roll a d4. Unexpectedly, as in within the 1d4 rounds.
Let me ask you this. What is the because if it's 1d4 rounds, then that's potentially 2 to 3 rounds you don't have your weapon.
That's my point. I'm just using it as an example.
Sure.
But it says it returns unexpectedly. So I don't think that this should just be a thing that you do and it's like, oh, I hit you, I didn't hit you, but I hit you in the same turn. I think it needs to at least be the next turn because the whole point is they think it missed and take their mind off of it. I don't think this should just be unless it's meant to be, what's that one ability? Oh no, that was back and forth.
So I'll say I totally agree with what you're saying. And I think the best way to articulate that is going to be the fact that it's an auto hit is it being unexpected. But to your point, I think doing something that either the start or the end of that character's turn is when they take the damage.
I like the end of their next turn. So whether it's next or the so you're not gone, because remember, if it hits, you're going to lose your weapon anyway. Then the weapon never comes back unless you miss. So no matter what, it does drop to the enemy. Let me
actually check, because if this is meant to be
like a recall,
returning, like the spell effect returning that you get from like it'll come back no matter what.
Okay, cool. And I think that's the intent. I think that is the intent. So Serotonin says next turn or turn after at most. And I was only clarifying, did you mean that to be a random thing where it does that whole like anime thing where it just goes off, no one can see it, and then it does the the Occam's razor where out of nowhere and it comes back in scene? Or is it meant to be like a feat where it's like a feign feat where I'm gonna attack you, but I use my feign feat, so I'm tricking him to guarantee.
Yeah.
But if I'm guaranteeing myself, like if it were supposed to be in the same attack, if I were like in this round, I'm doing my attack action, but I'm using this activated ability to miss you. If it was going to hit you that turn anyway, like that round before my turn's over, then I would say it should give you advantage on your attack.
That's what I was initially thinking when I was thinking
if it's a guaranteed hit, it cannot be on your same turn, because it doesn't make sense in my mind that you're just able to activate this and get a guaranteed hit. To me, the narrative has to make sense. And at least, like you said, whether it's the end of their next turn. So that way it makes the most sense. That's the shortest amount of time you can give. That makes the most sense, because that gives them action time, meaning they did something, meaning they weren't paying attention.
So I have an interesting question about this, because it specifically says unexpectedly. Monks have an ability to catch a ranged weapon and throw it back at their target.
Deflect missile?
Yes, deflect missiles.
Would this overcome it?
Would you be able, because they use their reaction to do so. So no matter when you trigger this, theoretically, if they have a reaction and it's a ranged, but again, it's not an attack, it's an auto hit. But
That is true, it is.
But the monk ability says when you would take damage from a ranged attack, and this is going to do damage to you, and you basically get to catch it and reduce that damage. And if you reduce that damage to 0, then you can throw it back at them. That's how the ability reads.
Yeah.
So it's like if
I would, this one, that's a very good question. I feel like 5th edition would be okay with it, with deflect missile working. I feel like it would be absolutely fine for a DM to narrate that out and say, no, this is a special ability, you shouldn't be able to do that. But I could totally see rules as written being fine with it.
Yeah.
Because it is still a reaction, even though it's unexpected. It doesn't matter. You can use a monk ability in an ambush as long as you're not unable to react. So no matter what, I think the monk would still be able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, like you said, rules is written for sure. So
this isn't necessarily surprising them. It just says unexpectedly. So I don't think this is as surprised. So I'm okay giving it auto hit as long as it's not on your turn. It cannot do the damage on your turn. Otherwise, if it's supposed to be during your attack and you're just gaining advantage by hitting them, with something that they thought was going to hit them and then went by them, that should just be advantage, because that means it's going to come right around and hit them immediately.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that being advantage. If this is meant to be an auto hit, it has to at least by bare minimum be the end of that target's next turn.
Sure.
And that makes perfect sense. It's after they've done all their action, and then again, comedically,
by the way,
back on theme, slaps them right in the face, and they do take all the damage.
Yep.
Totally fine with that. If that's how this works, then I think it works great.
So if it's at the end of their turn, this is my only worry about it being at the end of their turn. What happens if they move on their turn?
Doesn't matter. I think magically that's the idea, is it veers wide and kind of hones in on them. I think that's the activation part. I think the auto hits.
Does it matter how, like, if they dimension door 500 feet away?
Well,
like, is it within reason? Is it within like the current battlefield?
I would call it within reason. Like, I would skimp on it, because it, the idea is, while it's a boomerang and while it is going to just go back where it was, it is magical.
Sure.
And this ability is activated.
I would say within its maximum range.
Okay, that's fair.
Just to put a number on it, just so that people aren't being like, well, this should be within reason. Like, if that, like, just being able to say, like, hey, if they move within 90 feet of their original position, it'll still hit them. No matter
I'd even
what.
okay with 30, just because you're saying it's arcing back around, so it can't go further than it was already thrown, and it's coming back to the general area.
Sure.
So I mean, and most things wouldn't move outside of 30 feet, right? And if they do, they're running away. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I would even be okay with its smaller range of, as long as it's still within 30 feet of
its original
position, it'll get hit. I'm okay saying that. I think that's totally fine. Okay. I do agree there should be a limit on it. I would not be upset if Serotonin wanted to do 90 feet, because again, it's magical and it could loft and can do its own thing.
I would just say that because that is the max range of the thing.
And that's what I would not be upset with it. I think for me, I'd be more comfortable with 30 feet from its original position.
Fair enough.
Because at least then you can, most DMs I think would be like, okay, I could justify that in my head. You know what I mean? It's still in the general vicinity. I think 90 feet would be like, you're really relying on the fact that it's magical and it's homing.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, someone would eventually do the whole thing where they're running someone down and they're right at the 90 feet. They throw it at them, and even if they dash, it will go another 90 feet because it missed them at the. You know what I'm saying? So in order to not double its length and make it a homing device, it has to come back. So therefore, it has to be within that radius of its returning spot. That's where I think the lore makes perfect sense. And Serotonin agrees. 30, it is. So let's reread this as Serotonin has approved for how we're going to go about this.
Sure.
So the weapon has 6 charges. You gain 3 at the end of a long rest. Each ability takes at least 1 charge. So Frozen Rebound. When you make a ranged attack with this weapon, you can choose to impose Psychic Fate, causing this weapon to intentionally miss its target. Instead of striking immediately, rolling to attack, that none of that really matters in terms of how you want to say that. But instead of striking immediately, the boomerang veers wide and returns at the end of the target's next turn.
Got you.
Passing through the enemy's defenses.
Okay.
I would
like
say
that.
Instead of passing through the enemy from behind, I would say passing through or bypassing the enemy's defenses.
Got you.
That way we're succinctly saying all in one sentence what's happening, what's the visual, and what's the intended outcome.
And if it doesn't like verbalize it, I would specifically say, because when I first read this, I did not think it was an auto hit.
Yeah,
I thought, so like,
and that's what I'm saying. So maybe it would say, and causing it to miss the target, instead of rolling, the boomerang veers wide and returns at the end of the target's next turn, automatically hitting, bypassing their defenses.
Got you.
That would be the way that you could say that.
Okay.
This attack deals 1d4 at bludgeoning damage. I would also consider changing that to slashing, it depending upon Serotonin's visual
View
of this. Is it meant to be slashing or bludgeoning? But I would say this attack deals 1d4 slashing or bludgeoning damage, and 1d4 cold damage, ignoring resistance.
Right.
Or 1d4 bludgeoning damage. This damage acts as magical.
Well, I would say
for the purposes of resistance,
the weapon, regardless, even if you're not using this ability, it's still going to act as magical.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
Because because
okay, so we don't have to actually say that here.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's just 1d4 bludgeoning damage or slashing damage, and 1d4 of cold damage, ignoring resistance.
Sure.
So that would just be the rewrite. So even just a couple words. It's really just rewording how it bypasses them when it hits them, changing that it just bypasses their defenses and it's an auto hit, just a few verbiage there, and then just splitting out the D8 into 2d4s, and I think that sounds great.
Dude, that's perfect. Yeah.
Hecate says, one last question. What if it hits a creature? One last question. Would this hit if a creature goes invisible during their turn? So let's say I throw it, I intentionally miss you, but then it's your turn and you go invisible. Should it still hit them? So
again, I think to your point, if they move and it still hits them, then if they go invisible, it should still hit them.
I think I'm okay with that.
From that perspective,
it's kind of like Magic Missile.
But doesn't it say once you get hit for the base invisibility spell, if you take damage, doesn't your invisibility go away?
Usually. So yeah, so I'm okay with it.
That would be that. See, that would give it some cool utility. Now,
but
granted,
I would say
it's situational.
I would say my ruling would be you had to have eyes on your target. You can't just throw this and say hit that invisible person and expect it to work. You had to have eyes on them. But if the target,
that's what I'm saying. It's situational. It's like I saw you. I rolled. I knew where you're at.
Yeah,
it's gonna hit.
It's like you marked them. It's like, yeah, no, I'm okay 100% saying that yes, you hit invisible people. We could even put that in here of at the very end in parentheses of including invisible targets, including targets that went invisible after item or after boomerang was thrown.
Right.
So if you wanted to add that in there, I'm okay with that. And otherwise, that's a great ability. No notes other than
a very cool
improving
ability.
language,
Yeah.
but I don't think we changed anything. I think we just improved the concept.
Just knowing what it is when you say what you say. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, no, but I have no changes. I think that being able to increase the damage by the 1d4 ice would be amazing. It's not going to be. This is not your main weapon for the rest of the campaign, but I easily see you never dropping this. This is that one that's always on your back.
I would say I wouldn't be mad at like 2 or 3d4 cold damage, especially if it's only like 2d4 because you have 6 charges and depending on what the other one does.
What I would say, you know what, you've already said it. What I would say is this attack deals 1d4 bludgeoning or piercing base damage and 1d4 cold damage for every charge used.
That would be cool.
There's your improvement serotonin.
That would be cool.
Serotonin has ads. Hang on. We gotta wait for serotonin to get back.
Rip.
You're still here. Yes, there is your improvement serotonin. I'm gonna suggest that is my one suggestion. There is, it should just say 1d4 bludgeoning damage and 1d4 cold damage, ignoring resistance for every charge spent. So if I want to spend one, I'm only gonna do a 1 extra d4. But if I blow all 6 charges, I am doing 6d4 cold damage.
Yeah.
I don't know why that isn't a problem. Like why that couldn't be, a thing.
I love that.
Oh man, now I want a third ability because we haven't even gotten to the second ability.
Sure.
But now I want a version of this where every charge, so imagine this: you have 6 charges. I can throw all 6 charges in, and for every charge, I do a D4 extra of cold damage. But what I would also love is a secondary ability that says, for every 2 charges spent, you can choose an additional target. So if I burn all these charges, I can throw it, and it misses you. And then comes back and goes dink, 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 and just hits multiple people, bouncing off of them and through them, and then comes back to me.
Would you make them require like an arcing pattern like they require for
I would say
bolt?
they would have to be like they would have to be I would say within reason, maybe. Like somehow within like they have to be between you and the target you hit.
Sure.
So like I throw it at you, so
It's
anybody
still on
to
its way
the
back
left
to you,
or anybody
yeah.
to the right could get hit. But that would be very fascinating to have an option where I just say, I throw 2 charges into it, which means I get 1 extra target. So I throw it at you, but because I did 2 charges, you're going to take extra damage, but then I'm also going to be able to hit them.
Interesting.
And then I can so at that point, you could essentially get 4 targets total. Burning all of your charges, you'd get 4 targets. That's a lot, but that's all you would get.
Sure.
And then you wouldn't be able to do that for 2 days. Because
you wouldn't be able to do
charges.
all of that for 2 days. Yeah.
And if we did that, I would even say so much as you only get 2 charges per long rest.
Oh, interesting.
If it's that powerful. If I can auto hit 4 people and do the extra cold damage, I would say it's only 2 charges per long rest. Even 1 if you really wanted to make it a lot. Because that's powerful. But that's just some fun ideas. I'm not saying that this needs it, but just some fun ideas when I think about pumping it up. But I still think 1 charge per D4 makes this feel better, because then I can choose to use it throughout the day, or 1 big charge up and just blast, a fire spirit or something.
Right.
With 6d4 and just try and just.
I definitely like the idea of being able to charge it up, being able to stack some of your charges. I think that would be very cool.
Let's see. Hecate would it hit a creature if they casted mirror image? Yeah, I think basically the idea is it's homing on its real target, which I think is another benefit. Anytime they try to do anything it's coming back at me, do anything, it's going to fight you.
I would say for mirror image, your initial throw, if they had mirror image up, very similar to invisibility. If they had invisibility up when you cast it, you have to know where they're at. You have to do your perception check to figure out where they're at before you throw it to make sure it hits you.
That's fine.
But
if they
same
cast
thing
it after the fact.
Same thing for mirror image though. If they had mirror image before you threw it, you would still have to make the roll to see whether that throw that you make is going for a double or for the original.
I agree with that. But if you throw it at a target, then they cast mirror image, it's going to find them.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And these are like probably more DM like DM specific rulings, but yeah, I think those would be the standard. Is it should hit your target if you saw your target first.
Yes. If you saw your target when you made the attack.
Once we read the next ability, it might change my thoughts a bit on the charges and the damage multiplier. Okay. So,
interesting. Okay.
All right. So that would be my only suggestion. That was my only suggestion so far, is letting the first ability be able to be charged up. But otherwise, no notes, just better verbiage, and
cool.
It rocks.
All
right. So let's look at the next ability, Psychic Frost Surge. When the Crescent returns, you may expend any number of charges to amplify its power. For each charge spent, the Crescent expands in size, intensifying its freezing aura. The target takes an additional 1d4 cold damage per charge spent, with the blood and the bludgeoning increases to 1d10. Interesting. If 3 or more charges are used, the target must make a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw or be momentarily disoriented, granting disadvantage on its next attack roll. I like that. I like being able to disorient targets. Once attuned, the weapon subtly whispers to its wielder, hinting at unseen angles and the perfect moment to strike. That's kind of cool, like giving the DM a little bit opportunity to give it. So that's interesting. I don't necessarily mind it. Like the extra bludgeoning damage I obviously like being able to do the extra cold damage, which we already basically just said. So I know that we're on board with that. But I think, because I've already said it, not just to like pump my own idea, but because I know I'm being able to compare the two ideas, I think I'd rather hit more targets than just do increasingly more damage on one. For something like a boomerang, in my mind, I would prefer that, but that's just because I already mentioned it. Now that I can compare,
Yeah.
I think it would be nice to just be able to bump the damage for one target minorly or hit more than just do this massive increase. But I'm curious what you think.
So I'm curious what the benefit of the increased size is going to be.
I think that's the explanation of why it does more bludgeoning damage. I think it's just the explanation for increasing in size to justify doing 1d10.
Because when we talk about, and I totally get that, but like, see, my mindset I would just like increase the like freezing aura, like they said, and just be like, hey, there's like a thicker layer of ice around it. Maybe you have to make a Constitution saving throw or whatever because you're holding on to basically like a block of ice now, or whatever the case may be. But the reason why I ask is because a lot of the times, you know, if you're a small creature, which you theoretically can be as a player character, like holding large weapons has potential downsides, you know, and depending on how large this thing can get, depending on how much you pump it up, it can have some repercussions. And so I like the idea. It feels very similar to what we suggested, being able to just stack things on it, except this only occurs I believe when it returns to you.
So this is only on return. Serotonin says that maybe the size could imply an AoE. So instead of my idea where it bounces from target to target, maybe on its return. So I try to target you, right? And I intentionally miss you. Then right before it hits you, I activate this one and I pump it full and I make it big. So any person, like for every one, it adds a space to the left or right. So if I pump like 2 charges into it, it adds a space to your left. If I pump 4 charges into it, it adds space to your right. Like it adds, so it just gets bigger. So anyone adjacent to you, the more I pump into it, the more people that are adjacent to you, the more people it strikes through before it comes back to me. So there's that option of the bigger you make it, not only the more damage it does, but the more people it will hit. Those would have to be adjacent enemies. My idea was if you could justify being able to hit enemies that are in line back to you. You know, with some, you know, like so, with a radius of margin of error.
Here's kind of the idea I like, because I love the idea of pumping stuff into it, and I really like the idea that they just brought up about making it an AoE. So here's kind of my thought: is you're on the battlefield, you throw this boomerang at a target. Instead of using your charge to do an auto hit on the rebound, when you throw it and on a normal attack roll, you miss for whatever reason, you can expend some charges to pump it up, make it bigger, and then potentially even move yourself so that it, on its return track, it goes through an AoE area of enemies. So like, say there are 2 enemies on the way back to you. You can run so that it hits those 2 enemies are between you and where you go.
Interesting.
So like it's on your turn. This is all happening on your turn. So
right. Because so basically, you're saying that either you can use Frozen Rebound to intentionally miss and hit one target, and you can even do the bump up
auto
damage,
hit basically,
and then use more expenditures to bump up the damage, like the cold damage.
Sure.
On this version, it's like a reaction to if you miss a regular one, it's going to come back at you. You can essentially say, well, hey, it's coming back in this direction. I'm going to pump it up and then hit anybody
on its way back.
On its way back.
Doing like AoE cold damage.
And I still like having the DC check because it's still like going through them, right? So there's still kind of some kind of check. Interesting. Okay. I could get down with that.
That way, it feels like it has the utility that you can intentionally choose what you want it to do when you want to be proactive with it. But also, if you have charges left over, and you end up missing, you feel like you can get something out of it as well. And it won't always be applicable. There's just going to be times where you miss a target and there's nothing on its way back to you, so you don't use those charges to do it. But when there happens to be something available for you, boom, you can hit that.
Okay, so this might be a little bit too much for 5th edition. But so what if it read something similar to, okay, so Frost Surge or whatever you wanted to call it. So when you miss a target with a basic attack, with the basic range attack. So when you miss a target with a basic ranged attack,
okay,
as a reaction, you can I don't know how many. Should it just be 1 or should it be 2 to do this as a reaction? Because again, you know, it's when you would have normally hit them. So how much should it cost to actually activate it? Just to activate it, not to increase it, just to activate it at first.
For the basically when you miss?
Yeah. Should it just be a single?
Depends on how much damage, because what I was thinking is it does like 2d4 cold damage, period. That's it.
Just the cold damage. And
just the cold damage.
Like an aura. So because what I'm thinking is you activate it, and this is where it gets a little bit more complicated, is when you activate it. So on miss, as a reaction, you can use a number of your charges to activate psychic return or whatever.
Sure.
Whatever we're going to call it, psychic frost surge. Select a space within 15 feet behind the target that you missed.
Okay.
And if you still have movement, you may use it up at this time, but you'll still provoke opportunity attacks. But the idea is that you're allowed to essentially use this moment to kind of quickly position yourself.
Sure.
And you choose a space like 15 feet, you know, behind the target. Right? You missed them. That's where the boomerang is going to go. And then by doing that, wherever you position yourself, you can hit any target between you and the boomerang. So you basically make like a line. So that's where I don't know how to make that not sound complicated. But the idea would be, I miss my target, so can I just say I select that spot? Now that's the line, like the lightning bolt line. This is the line where anybody between me and this square, and maybe that's just it. So maybe when you miss a target as a reaction, you can burn a charge. For every charge, you can choose 1 square beyond the target you missed.
Okay.
So, and that's any direction. So any direction, and then you can say, from that square to you, any other creature in that line will get hit with
this AoE damage,
with the extra AoE damage. So if I throw it at you and you're 30 feet away and I miss you, I can burn 3 charges and put it 15 feet to your left, because there's 2 enemies right here.
Sure.
And now I can say, fine, those 2 enemies take that frost damage instead, because I call it back to me and I chose that this is the line. But if I have to really maneuver it, maybe I get to, move it. If I burn all 6 charges, that's 30 feet. I get to move it in any direction to guarantee I lined up and guarantee to get a hit. And maybe I line it back up with, and maybe the only caveat is you can't line it up to the target that you missed.
Right.
That's the only caveat, is you can line it up in any way possible to hit any target between you and it, just not the target that you missed.
Right.
And those would be just auto hit, AoE damage, cold damage only, does the resistance. Could that work? Or is that too much for 5th edition to articulate?
I feel like it would be hard. I feel like they would want to make it more simple, like either from your target's deck, like do something to the extent of when you use this reaction, you can move up to half your speed, and then it's from the target's location on your way back.
So how about this? When you miss a target with a regular ranged attack, as a reaction, you can spend a charge to activate this ability. From a spot within from choose a square. Okay, yeah. So you can activate this ability. When activated, choose a square within 30 feet of your missed target.
Okay.
Any target between you and that square will take X number of cold damage for every charge you spend. So I miss you, you're 30 feet away.
Sure.
I burn 3 charges. I choose a spot 20 feet away from you. And there's 2 enemies in line. I spent 3 charges. They're going to take 3d4 cold damage each. That's it. That's how you explain it. You just choose a point within 30 feet of the target you miss, because that's your arc.
I would make that range a little bit smaller because it still has to travel back to you. So maybe like
15 feet?
15 to 10 feet.
Because I'm just thinking, like, if it misses you and then has to go this way, right? It's going to go in a big arc, but then eventually it has to come straight back to me. So I was kind of giving it like this option of big arc and then straight back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Serotonin, how are you feeling about this idea as just another different option? So Serotonin was really into your idea about just being able to activate it after you miss. And I think that's where we want to stand, right?
Okay.
Is activate it after you miss as a reaction. Now we just have to play with, how do you articulate what are you actually doing once you miss? What actually happens on the return? Is it getting bigger? Is it going through people? And how do you decide who it hits? You could say something as a reaction, you can activate a number of charges and hit an additional enemy within 30 feet or 15 feet of your missed target. So instead you just redirect. Maybe it's just called psychic redirect. So whenever you miss a target as a reaction, you can blow a charge and redirect it to a target within 15 feet. Even that, I mean, we could add another ability that just does that, right? That could be a third ability, because that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Just being able to say, oh, I missed you. I want to reactively hit someone else.
Right.
So that's one option. Serotonin doesn't mind that direction. I mean, again, we're not telling you how it's going to end up. We're just trying to
brainstorm
multiple ideas.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable when you make your decision. So I don't mind a third ability that says that you can change target if you miss as a reaction, because as a reaction, it doesn't feel like a capstone. That feels just like a little thing you can do.
Sure.
So even just saying that there's frozen rebound where you can impose psychic damage, and I still think that you should be able to pump that up as much as you want. Basically auto hit a target for missing them. I think you could add a second ability, which basically says if you miss as a reaction, burn a charge and you can hit an enemy within 15 feet. And again, if you wanted to make that feel better, you could say you get 10 feet for every charge. So if you miss a target as a reaction, you can burn any number of charges, and for every charge you can hit an adjacent enemy up to 15 or 10 feet away.
Sure.
So 2 charges, 20 feet, and no extra damage. You're going to do the same 1d4, or no, you're just going to do the same 1d4, but you're just being able to guarantee you hit someone else instead.
Interesting.
So it's not doing extra cold damage or any of that stuff. It's just as a reaction, I can quickly psychically select a different target and actually hit them. So that's kind of, I think, a fine as just a mediocre in between. And then the final one, I'm totally down with saying that we can hit multiple people. It's just, is it on a miss? Do you get to decide when you do it? And then how do you articulate what's happening?
Sure. I've got some ideas, but I think there's a lot of ways you could go with it. And I would say the starting place of like having something like coming back to you is really good, whether you go with Vortex's idea of like a range from behind it that it can miss, or just straight from the person right back. There's lots of options, but I think that having the ability, like I like the idea, especially because it's something that you brought up in your original description of it, like actually getting bigger in size. Like I think of the lightning bolt spell. It says a 5 foot wide, 30 or 90 feet long, right? But if this is going to be a much shorter distance, right? Like I imagine it being able to be something like almost 10 feet wide. If you really want to make it bigger, like 10 feet wide, and on your way back to you, anything that is in that line is going to take, X amount of damage.
And you mentioned it earlier with creature size. I would even be okay that creatures medium or smaller need to make a dex check or be moved 5 feet towards you, because it's coming back and like a boomerang, it's hitting them, so be moved towards you. And then any creature small or smaller or tiny is grappled by it and pulled towards you. Like you know what I mean?
Or even knocked prone or something like that.
Because you're thinking if it's this giant crescent that's just coming at you, you could say it moves them, not just damages them. You could if you're going to make it enlarge, you can mess with the fact that they're different creature sizes.
Yeah.
Ooh, another thing would be really interesting for this, because someone I think in chat mentioned the difference of sizes of being able to hold it. Imagine being able to activate the size change while you're wielding it. So imagine in my hand, instead of throwing it, being able to just make it bigger so I can use it as a bigger melee weapon.
Yeah. Just smacking somebody with it.
So maybe
That
you
would be
can
very
even just,
cool.
maybe this doesn't have to happen on the return. Maybe you can just burn a charge to make it bigger.
Okay.
Some other ideas for you. Other ideas. Cast in large, glacial coat, and then holy weapon, auto hit damage. Yeah, you can do a lot with this one. I think this is a cool item. I think that I don't think it's missing anything. I just think that with the last ability, I think just a small clarification on exactly what the intent is in terms of who we're trying to damage and at what point. And then anything beyond that is just lore. How is it doing it is more for the DM to kind of figure out how it makes sense. But I think if we just clarify what exactly is going to cause it. Are we doing it as a reaction when we miss?
Yep.
Is it just going to be on any return trip that we can do this or whatnot? And then once it does it, what's the intent? Who's it supposed to be hitting? Right? The person, other enemies that you didn't try to target. Is it supposed to be attempting to attack a cluster that are grouped near each other?
Yeah.
Is it in people in the line? Those are really all you have to answer. And then you can really tighten up the language of this is really figuring out what we want it to do and what's it meant to do.
100%.
Adding lore definitely helps. And then tightening the language. Yeah. And really it's all just about painting the picture of your intent, because DMs can always change it. We've talked about this before, but when we see lore, a lot can come from the author and a lot can be inspired by the author. So as little or as much as you want to put in on that is fine, but giving those small little intents, right? Telling us specifically what Frost Surge is meant to accomplish. Because I like how it's written where it's just on any return. It's like, I've thrown it regardless of the situation, but I just want to do more damage on its way back.
Sure.
I think that's totally fine. It just was a little bit weird for me with the size change, but without lore, I don't really know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And even just a small thing of it, even if we just put in for each charge spent, the crest expands in size, and you have to add just a few words of expands in size, ice growing in layers.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You could just give me that visual of, oh, it's just, I literally can imagine this thing going through the air and it's just getting like, condensation.
Yeah,
and then just pulling moisture from the air and then just getting more and more rock solid. That would be enough. And then I can understand why it's getting bigger. And then just that little bit will give me enough to understand, okay, it's getting bigger on its way back and then it's going to hit people. And we could keep it just as that. The only aspect is when the crescent returns, you may expend a number of charges. It's really identifying who those targets are going to be and how do you quantify them.
Sure.
Because there's no way for the DM to really have a rule set on how boomerangs fly.
Yeah.
So that's where I was trying to come up with an idea of you select the space where the boomerang begins its return flight, and then you get the directive of that direction, anybody in that area. Or you could do just anybody within a certain footage of your target. Those are ways that you usually quantify who the target is.
Sure.
I like the idea of on its return being able to do more damage. I just don't quite understand how I'm targeting and selecting who's going to be on that return flight.
Right.
So that would be my only suggestion for that one, really, is just tightening up the language for who that target is.
Knowing how we're going to articulate that to our players.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm here for that.
Cosmic's not a fan of the reactionary auto hit when the main attack roll misses, but it wouldn't be on the same target. That would be the idea, is the reactionary, if you miss your target, would be you're switching to a different target.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say definitely you can't hit the target you missed on any of these extra abilities if it triggers on a miss.
I do get what he's saying though, and so it would probably be a scenario where it's almost like if it's coming back and it ends up being like an AoE, it would be like a saving throw AoE.
Right.
So at the very least they can, whoever these new targets are, they have the option to take less damage, or to not take the most damage I would possibly take, you know, because then it's like, no matter what you do with this weapon, you're guaranteed to get not max damage, but like not have any detriment to your damage. Like even if you missed, you can just, I'll expend a charge.
And that's fair. And I could totally see, again, coming up with the idea of a second ability that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
If we added that second ability as the reaction, where as a reaction, when you miss a target, you can spend a point to select a different target and then re-roll your attack.
Okay.
Something that I think that could solve that very issue.
Sure.
It would be it wouldn't be an auto hit. It would just be a one time I get to select a new target. And I would just say you get to do that one time per attack. Because then you can't just keep chaining it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could though. That would be kind of fun. You throw it across the battlefield and you're just like, nope. Oh.
Only I would say once you choose your first target, your next new target has to be within the same line.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know, it has to be following the same path instead of like zigzagging and doing like, you know, connect the dots all over the battlefield.
Yeah. All right. So there's a lot of ways that you can work on that serotonin. Definitely interested to see if you do make any changes. Let us know. But yeah,
I love that.
Overall, I like it. I think I zoomed out a long time ago for the picture. Forgot to zoom back in. But I like it. I think it suits a niche that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah. No, I love the direction that these abilities are going. And again, so much I really like how creative some of these abilities end up being. Like some of the ones we've seen very recently are using mechanics in ways that I haven't seen before, but like inspire me to do so many other different things. So I love seeing that kind of stuff. So it's very cool.
Speaking of which, psychic anything. Yeah, I love psychic abilities. And that's why I'm okay with having like the selection of targets, because we put in there in the very beginning that they're psychic.
Yeah.
So being able to say it, you can select a target, the auto hit, anything like that
agree.
makes sense because you're kind of in control of it.
Yeah.
So I do have another idea. You just mentioned these creative ways to use effects that we haven't seen before. I have an idea. Remind me that you said that, but let's give out a score and we'll close this one up. But yeah, no, I'm really happy for this. This gives me some really cool ideas to work with. I think that other than just rephrasing a little bit of the first ability and the second ability, just tightening up who and what we need is where it needs to be. Otherwise, I would love a little bit of lore, but I don't feel like I truly need it. I don't feel like this is so absurd that I can't come up with something on my own.
Yeah.
It's just it's a boomerang that does cold damage. It's not that complicated. It's not that far-fetched.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty solid. I think I might do a little bit more with it, but it doesn't need to be uber complicated. I really like where it's going because, as I mentioned before, not a weapon that I would be upset giving to a low-level playing group. Not a weapon I'd be upset getting low-level. Not a weapon I expect to have for the rest of my campaign as my main weapon. But this is not one of those I would ever imagine feeling like it's going to be useless.
Sure.
This is one that's going to always remain on my back.
Yep.
I may move on to a bow. I may move on to a crossbow. I may move on to other ranged weapons, javelins, what have you. But this is always going to be in the party. We're always going to have this at those clinch moments that you need a little extra fire damage. You need a ranged weapon. Like, that's what I like about this is it's not the star of the show, but it's always going to be in the background. It's
Sure.
that thing that you're just going to remember. And then when it gets pulled out in the, like season 7, you're just like, I remember when they got that, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the kind of weapon I feel that this is. And I like that. I like having those background items that always find a way back into the character's hands, even if it's not their go-to.
For sure.
So with that, it's actually, I mean, we didn't change anything really. We just tightened up the language there. I know it's fantastic. I think I'm gonna give it an 8.
An 8. I love it.
It's very
I
close.
love it.
I mean, just a little bit of changing on that last ability, a little bit of understanding, and maybe a little bit of direction, and it would probably get a better score. But without lore and without filling a specific hole, I don't really need it in high point because I have other similar things, and it doesn't do anything super new. But I do like it, and I love the idea of utilizing a boomerang in this way.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
there you go. thank you so much.
Love it.
I really hope that
8 out
you
of 10 first
enjoyed
review.
that. Yeah, fantastic. First one, not bad. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for submitting that. And if you at home, I hope you enjoyed the review. Let us know on YouTube what you think. If you agree with our assessment, let us know what abilities you like the most and what you would have changed. I'm really curious if you would use this weapon and how long would you hold on to it? Would this be something that you would keep in the back pocket, or would you ditch it early on? Let us know. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We will have another one for you next week, so always stay tuned. Like, subscribe, it really does help. But otherwise, I hope you guys had a fantastic week, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.
All right, that was fun. Thank you so much. I really cannot wait for you to submit more.
Dude, that's way cool.
Thank you so much.
For
Please
sure,
submit
Serotonin.
more. We will always look forward to that. So Serotonin, your average is, I'm going to assume 8.
It is 100%. Yes.
What can the folks anticipate next week?
All right. Let me make sure I actually have this in the right order before I post it. All right. So we did Cosmic before. We did Serotonin.
I also love how you've had a cat passed out above you this entire time.
Oh, yeah. You've just been vibing, huh?
His tail's popped down every now and again. He's been dreaming. I've been watching his feet just kick every now and again.
Amazing. Okay. It actually looks like we are coming back to one of Desmar's submissions.
Ooh.
And so I believe we're going to do one of their races, and I think we'll go ahead and go with the Mothkin.
Ooh, the Mothkin. Well, there we go. Is that
Mothkin.
a new creature?
This is a race species. Yes.
All right. Well, a new race coming up next week. That's really exciting. I don't know what we're going to be doing this Friday. Surprise, surprise. But I have been really enjoying doing the more creative stuff. I don't know. I need to do some polls and see what kind of episodes. I need to look at like the actual Friday episodes and do a poll in Discord to see what people really like.
Sure.
I enjoyed doing all of the history ofs, but I really don't know if I don't know if we are the outlet for that. As much as I enjoy doing them, because of the level of research that I do, or I should say don't do, and the amount of effort that we don't put into it, right? In the future, it might be fun to have an editor be able to just take the audio, do an animation, or really put some visuals up on the screen of what we're talking about. But we don't do the type of research that is super educational in terms, you know what I mean? Like in terms of like, what YouTube education really is all about. I don't really feel like, again, it's more podcasty. We more talk about it than we do really get into the actual specifics.
Educate about it. It's less of a lecture and more of just a conversation.
And while I enjoy it, I don't know if it's the direction that we should be going. I think that there's plenty of people that do it better, and I don't know if it's as entertaining. And maybe this is my bias because the YouTube channel is just not really taking off at all, and I'm just trying to maybe weed out some of the work that I'm doing.
Sure.
Like I love all of the specialty stuff that we've done. The pop culture builds, image to item is going to be this week. Subletting subclasses. All of these are amazing episodes. I love doing them. I've edited a couple review episodes. Those are fine.
Sure.
The history ofs, they're fine. I don't know if they're worth the time in terms of overall the content that we can create. This kind of stuff has visuals, the stuff we make usually has a visual to go along with it. The educational stuff is more of just audio. And so I'm wondering if we maybe should start steering away from that more on Fridays and start going more into like the creative
Weirdly enough,
process.
And maybe this is just future talk because we're potentially away from it. Do you think any of these history ofs could make potentially good candidates for animations?
Oh, 100%, yes.
So because there's no visuals there for anything else, it could be one of the ones that we use to go that direction and so like it's not like never do them, but like it's not a focus, especially right now.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a step back because we've done a bunch of history ofs and they're all great, but
You got a good list.
Yeah, it would just it takes so much. It takes so much to research even just to get the quality that I have out, let alone the quality that would be better. And I think we just do better creating our own stuff and building upon the community's ideas than we do just talking about it. And again, you can find that history anywhere. Like, I don't think we were doing anything groundbreaking or new, or even, you know, coming up with new content or coming to new conclusions. You know, I think it was just more of giving opinions on
maybe not wholly, but I will say I don't think anywhere else you can find content of that specificity laid out across the generations like that. Meaning, I don't think anyone else lays out what magic look like, what dragonborns look like, what druids look like, what, like, across all of the generations of D&D. I don't think anywhere else you can find like a side-by-side comparison to that kind of stuff.
That's fair. Most of them they'll look at first edition. There's not many out there that take a topic and that is true. That is something that is kind of uniquely us.
Is something that I appreciate, because then I can see, you know, there were even, like we were talking about initiative, right? There were benefits to what initiative looked like in the past, and there's benefits, you know, to what initiative looks like now, you know, just ease of gameplay, smoothness, like this is how it works with all, but there's also a really cool value. So like understanding like there are elements and pieces all over the place, and being able to like look at them side by side and say, hey, do I want to combine these two pieces? Do I want to do these two things together? Do I want to take a little 5th edition and a little 2nd edition and do a little mashup for my initiative and see how we can make that work? So
that's true.
I'll say that's definitely the benefit I get out of it, and so I'm super down to. I mean, I love referencing those episodes for a lot of elements for that very reason. But
that's fair. And again, maybe they shouldn't go anywhere. I'll have to pull the Discord to see what people want, because I like we were saying in the very beginning of stream, I want to continue making D&D content, but I'm realizing that I want to also expand the brand, expand what Misfit Gamers are all about, and just cover more stuff. I feel like we will have a better longevity, because who knows the popularity of D&D specifically, let alone TTRPGs, in the next couple years. Who knows
for sure
what we're going to be able to make content about. And I would just like there to be other options. I'd like there to be more things that we can discuss, more things that we can do. I mean, D&D can only be taken so far. You know, let's say we want to do like IRL streams. It's so much easier to have something else. Like we, you know, IRL go to like a Friday Night Magic somewhere.
Sure.
Or we go to we go, you know, I would love to do an IRL stream where we go to a shop, go buy minis like live with chat, and then we go sit down and paint them.
That would be sick.
Like how cool, like we get like a little mobile set. So we just go to an unknown store, and then we just like do a live stream where we're shopping for minis. We get chat to help us pick minis. We buy the paint, and we just sit down in the shop and paint. It just, the entire live stream is us going, getting, and crafting minis for the live stream. Like, I think that would be kind of cool. But right now, that doesn't necessarily fit, because all we do is D&D discussions.
Sure.
And so I want it. That's where the board game night comes out, and that's kind of what I want to start doing. And while I love D&D discussions, I don't know if, again, this is where I want to talk to the community. I wish it would, again, not that I want just more viewers in general, because obviously that's good, I mean, but I would love the community to show up sometimes more, because these are the times I would love to chat with the community at large. But, you know, would things like that be interesting for people? Would or not interesting. I know people would be interested, but we have been doing 2 years. I mean, it's 2 years, by the way. We barely celebrated. I didn't know what else to do other than
we
make
did
things
great.
fancy.
Like, I love that.
Other than making things fancy, I feel like we didn't really celebrate. But thinking about the stream, I do want to expand. I do want Misfit Gamer Studio to be more. But D&D discussions has been going strong for 2 straight years. Most of that time, 2 days a week. And while I don't ever want any of that to stop, the community streams, everything, I do want to do more stuff. Board game nights would be great, maybe once a month. There's going to be other streams that we could probably do here and there. And I don't mind pop-up streams at all. Like the tavern streams and everything else like that. But I struggle because we could be doing so much more with the time that we have. But I sometimes worry that by taking away from the consistency that D&D discussions has been, does that diminish the value of D&D discussions? Does it decrease the value of Misfit Gamer Studios? Or does it decrease the value of those that have stayed around? Because I think about, we would still I guess I'm saying more of, if we wanted to do more, we'd have to swap out Fridays. Like Mondays would never change. I think we've always just said Mondays will always be review. But let's say Fridays weren't always D&D discussions. And they were, maybe on Friday we do an IRL stream, and then we go do, like all these other types of streams that we could do, right? I have a bunch of different ideas of things that we could be doing, the board game nights and other things. But I worry that would, if I take away from what D&D discussions is in any way, I feel like, I don't know if that's a disservice to the community so far. And if we're going to do other things, are we kind of stuck at doing those things on other days? And not stuck as in we can't, but is it the best thing that we keep Monday and Friday D&D discussions and do everything else when we can? Or would it be a valid move to consider swapping out some Fridays for not D&D discussions?
I definitely think it's something that's worth considering, even if it's just something as small as once a month. Just once a month doing an IRL stream,
but on Friday, but specifically swapping out D&D discussions.
Correct. Like I think that is a very valid idea. Again, I don't think that takes away from what we do here. And you've already seen, like, you've done small other streams, like when you were building your tavern, when you were you did a cooking stream, like you've done other things, you've done stuff when it comes to just making cocktails and things like that. And so, like, there are people, I think the people that are with us are not just here specifically for D&D discussions. They're here for what we do, right? And so, I think it's the whole Misfit Gamer Studios thing. Now, granted, a lot of them are into D&D, which is why they're here and which is why they always interact with us talking about D&D, but I definitely say that there's a market for the rest of what we're doing, especially when something like painting minis is D&D adjacent enough that I feel like people could totally get down with that.
Okay. Because that's, saying that we've been going for 2 years, there's a part of me that is locked into the mindset of we've been going 2 years, Monday, Friday. And I feel like there's a part of me that says if we change that up in any at all, does that diminish that goal or that prestige? If we've been doing this for 2 years, it's like, well, we have been streaming for 2 years and we've done way more than 176 episodes. Well, we've done 176 episodes of D&D discussions.
Yes.
But we've done way more than 200 streams.
Yes.
And that's the thing is, I know that the 2-year anniversary isn't like the 200th episode. It's the 2-year anniversary of Misfit Gamer Studios, but also D&D discussions.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think I get tripped up sometimes, is if I take away from that, does it diminish what we've built? Or is that the decision I need to be comfortable with making, is if I want to expand, I have to be willing to give up some of the foundation of what we are in order to allow that growth, right? Like, in order for us to really do new things, sometimes we won't have an extra day in the month.
Sure.
So maybe we have to give up a little bit of D&D discussions twice a week in order to successfully test and grow and try new things.
And I do think that'll be good for us eventually, especially because, what we're inevitably all about is sharing with our community, is growing what it is that they're about. And I'm not somebody who knows anything about painting minis. Like, that whole experience would be brand new for me, and anybody else who's brand new to that experience would be able to, like, see what it looks like to get introduced, kind of like you were talking about with the board games. I think stuff like that is like is totally a market that we can participate in and find value in. And again, worst case, we try it out and the viewers are like, I genuinely think they will be, the worst case is they'll be mildly excited. The best case is they'll be like, yo, do that all the freaking time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing too, is we've had non-popular streams, but I don't think we've ever had like a bad stream.
I would agree. Like I
and I don't think anything we knew we've tried has never really bombed. Like, there's no new idea that we've tried that just flopped completely. Yeah, do you want pets, sir? He's trying so hard to get someone's attention. Oh, now it's bath time. He didn't get the pets that he wanted. Oh, there he is. Yeah, is that what you wanted, sir? I'm gonna just tilt that up just a little bit so. Yeah, he's just been sitting there asleep the whole time.
Wild. But no, I
Okay, so maybe I will
yeah,
fret less, and maybe I'll start bridging some ideas, because I have a ton of ideas. I just haven't. I've been hesitant because we don't have the community streams are touch and go as it is to schedule things. So I have these ideas, but I'm like, it's hard enough to think about when we can schedule it. But we're dedicated to Monday, Friday. If I can start swapping some of those Fridays out once or twice a month, we could do so much more. Because that was we've always talked about that for months. We've talked about the fact that it's just that's our best schedule. But I've been so afraid to get away from D&D discussions, because I know that, you know, consistency is key.
Yeah.
And it's not like we wouldn't be live still twice a week. You know, it's not like D&D discussions will die if it's not live twice a week. Our channel would die if we're not live consistently. But that's what I have to convince myself as is, you know, it's not like we're a famous podcast where there's, you know, thousands of people waiting every single Monday and Friday for that to drop. It's literally only who shows up. And like Soul said, most of them just show up for us, and that sounds weird to say. Like, that's kind of 2 years in, I'm just like, man. I've been focused so much on getting the content down that like, no joke. I don't mean this like in any. I mean, I mean this genuinely. I've spent so long worrying about the quality of the content, I kind of forgot about myself in that process.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Doing D&D discussions, making sure that, you know, we talk right, that we enunciate, that we have good topics, that we know what we're talking about, that we have good visuals, that we went from just talking to having a whiteboard to having the stuff on screen.
Sure.
Spent so long making sure that the quality and the way that you ingest it and what you were ingesting was high enough quality. I kind of forgot that I'm part of that equation, that I'm part of the of the content, and
just like some DMs forget that they're a part of the game that their players are playing, right? You know, like it's important for you to have fun too. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay, that maybe I just need to do that. Maybe I just need to not put D&D discussions on a back burner, but maybe I need to take it off the pedestal.
Sure.
You know, we're never going to stop Mondays. Mondays are just guaranteed. We have too much review, and I think still that is our bread and butter. Like,
I agree.
Homebrew review is our bread and butter for D&D discussions. I think that D&D discussions, while once upon a time was a way for us to learn about D&D, and there will always still be, you know, history ofs and things of that sort, but there are just times where I just don't have a topic I have thoroughly invested in to make a whole stream about. But there are so many things that we could be doing very easily that aren't specifically D&D related. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe I just have to do that. Maybe we just have to experiment.
I'm not mad at it. I'm really not. I think it's going to be very cool. I think it's going to be super helpful at the end of the day. I think that eventually we're going to find, you know, you're always talking about that one thing that's going to be like the spark that like sends us off. Like I very much feel like whether it's something, again, like you said, we've already done or that we've yet to do, I feel like we're going to find it in this process. So, you know, I'm definitely here for the journey, man. You know, it's the business. It's what it's all about. Like you said, the people that really get to where they're trying to go are the people that love what they're doing, not the people that are doing it because
loving the process, not the result. Yeah. And that's, I think that's where I'm coming from with these ideas, is I love what we do, and I'm not, I don't feel any different than when I started. Like, I feel just as enthusiastic, I feel just as ready and just if not more, because of the the newer equipment definitely made me more interested. Right, every time I come into my office and I just see all this stuff, it's kind of a personal flex on myself. It's like look at that. I have this is where I do my podcast.
Squared, man.
You know what I mean? I hype myself up being able to be like, that's where I do my twice a week podcast that I've been doing for 2 years. Like there's part of me that it helps, but there's so much more I want to be doing, and I know that it's just I'm putting roadblocks in front of myself because of time and effort. So it's just time to experiment. It's time to branch out and make D&D discussions bigger and better. Or not D&D discussions, it's Misfit Gamer Studios, because yes, the ADMG is still going to come out. All of our D&D stuff is still going to happen. But we also need to just be more of an open brand as well. We also just need to have things that we do, because even the people that love our D&D stuff can get tired or even go through it all. Sometimes there's just got to be something new.
Yeah. So I'm down to see what we've got, see how we're going to put it together.
Soul says, had an idea for an image item thumbnail style to show off what the topic is. What do you mean by like? I'm not sure what you mean by, because I already have an item for this week's episode. So for the chromatic orb, I already have.
For the Wednesday,
yeah, I have that thumbnail. So I'm not sure if you're just talking about like a general thumbnail for like image to item.
Oh, so like maybe when we're doing a new one.
Yeah.
Like what we would put up on the screen, kind of like you have for Homebrew Review.
Yeah, I'm working on a couple ideas on what that might be, but haven't nailed down if that's gonna be an ongoing enough series to warrant it, or if it's just gonna be again something that we do and we're just kind of not feeling it for our Friday, and it's an easy thing to do. It was a fun one. It was fun editing it. Don't know if it's really gonna be
image to item.
Yeah. It was fine. And I was able to get one whole episode out of one item. So we've already done like 9 items. So we'll see how well that goes.
How long was the episode?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Not bad.
That's not bad at all. Especially if we did multiple items in an episode, and normally we
usually about 2 or 3.
And this is around the same length as most of our other videos. That's actually really good.
Yeah. So image to item may or may not come back. I'll edit a couple more of those videos. I'm using those on the Mondays that I don't have a lot of time.
Gotcha.
So I'll edit those ones that are short and easy, and then Mondays when I'm off, I'll do bigger episodes.
Cool.
I think this next one. What am I doing next? In queue. Let's see. I have another imaged item. I have a small one for a tangent that we did about the Warlock pack scars. We did like a little idea about
I remember
that. That was kind of a fun conversation. Also in queue, history of action economy. I'll eventually do.
Okay.
And then Path of the Primal Warden is also on there.
Primal Warden?
Yeah, Path of the Primal Warden. Oh, and then I also want to do. I don't have it on here for some reason. Weird, it's not in here. I'll have to get it from YouTube. I thought I downloaded it. I wanted to do... What was it called? We just did it. The Path of the Chimera Druid. I plan on doing that one soon too.
Oh, got you. Yeah. I remember that.
Because that one was awesome.
Slay.
So yeah, we will be doing that one here very soon. But yeah, that's mainly it. We made it 2 years. We officially today.
Heck yeah.
We have beat more. I'm actually going to look up the stat right now. Actually, I'm going to look up the official stat because it is more than 50%. Where'd that stat actually happen?
Like thunder.
Okay, so someone saw a post on the 30th of this year, or on the 30th of January, 2025. They found a post that looked like it was GPT dribble about stats. So they said, I want to actually go to Solynome, which is one of the aggregator sites that does all the stats.
Oh, okay.
To get the real stats. Interesting. Polaroid camera. That's interesting. All right. So let me move us to over here. We'll read a little bit. All right. So, actual percentage of streamers quit by time frame. So as we can see here, so January 2022, the data became more reliable because it was tracked by streamers with 0 to 2 viewers. Before that, 2017 to 2021, it only tracked 3+ viewer streams. So both are combined for the whole picture. So, combined drop off between 2017 and 2022, considering 2 or 3 viewers, but that's
Sure.
That's still in our ballpark. So since then, after 1 month, 46.84% of streamers quit. After 3 months, 54.27. 6 months, 60.37. After 1 year, 67.95% of streamers quit. After 2 years, so this is where we're at, 67.33. And this is episode 76.33. And this is episode 176. So
Wild.
I'm just saying,
I kind of like
episode 176 and 76% quit. And then after 3 years, over 80% quit streaming. So that's it. We officially are in like the 30 percentile of streamers because we lasted. We're still fucking here. That I think is fucking cool.
That's the business, dude. That's truly where it's at. Almost.
That's cool. I think that's fucking. I thought it was like 60%. I didn't realize that like almost 80% of people are gone by now. And here we are because of y'all. Thank you so much. Mostly Hecate and Soul though. bringing in them dollars. Keeping the lights on with that $18 a month.
This guy's out here hooking it up.
All right. Was there other
So there was something you wanted me to remind you about. I don't exactly remember what it was.
Yes.
But
oh, look at that drop off. I do remember.
I just want to. I had an idea, a real quick idea about multiple people being able to be attuned to the same item.
Interesting.
And because the idea I kind of had is like, imagine like a boomerang where it would return, but it could return to multiple different people. So at any given turn, like I throw
you just like pass it back and forth.
And then it's like, hey, if I want to activate this ability, I have a bunch of different people that it could potentially be the endpoint to do that damage. And then they would have it at the end, type
interesting.
Deal. So I don't know. I thought that would be an interesting mindset. Maybe I might draft up an idea for
I'd be down to look at that. I'd be down to look at that.
But
you did remind me. Yes, I did have you were talking earlier about how using certain features in new and creative ways.
Yes.
And we were talking about how we were using the return, not return, but is it called return?
Returning?
Is it returning or the ability for it to come back to you? Returning. So you were thinking about how to do things in unique and creative ways. That spawned an idea when you said that about imagine what is it? Every single time I want to talk about it, I always forget the name.
I know the feeling.
What What's it called? Okay, so it is just the rope dart. Okay, yeah. I don't know why I always think that this is like a different name, but the rope dart.
Oh, yeah.
The one where you're using all your momentum. Imagine having returning on a rope dart. So imagine me, you're throwing it around, you're being able to use its momentum, attack enemies. But then on this enemy, you throw it past them. Not intended, like I throw it to your right, past your head. But I like try to whip it around you, and then it goes past you and your buddy, and then I return it, and then it comes back to me.
On the other side, yeah.
And now you're wrapped up.
Yeah.
Or imagine I throw it past you with a kind of an arc, and I miss you, then I ask for it to return. But when it comes straight back to me, it gets caught up by you and then does that whole tetherball thing.
Yeah.
So where it tries to come back to me, but then gets snapped by the cord and it goes, and then you can basically use the return
almost
as
like
a grapple.
What do they call that? A blast or the
bolas, yeah.
Yeah.
So I you were talking about that, and I'm just thinking if you had returning to, you could control the direction of
that would be kind of wild, especially if there was like rope attached. That would be very interesting.
Multi-attuned item can be dangerous. I want to know why you say that, Soul. Like, when you say that could be dangerous, what happens in your mind? Because more often than not, the attuned person has to also be wielding it. So even if multiple people could be attuned to it, it's still only usually going to work one person at a time. So I'm not saying that you're wrong. I am just really curious what you think of when you say that. What happened in your head? Or what example do you have of an item that would be too powerful to attune to more than one person? Because while I understand the limitations and what of attunement and why they put them in there, I'm trying to think of an exact example of one example where I would be worried that two people can attune to the same item.
And I would say it very much depends on what you allow it to do. Because yeah, I can see multiple attunements to something with like a crazy powerful item being like ridiculous. But again, if it's something like, just imagine well, that would be two separate items. I don't know. But like just the idea of like two people attuned to a dagger, and it's like whenever someone throws this dagger to you, at you, whatever the case may be, you will always catch it. Kind of like a cat will always land on its feet. Like, whether it's coming like straight at your eyes, whether it's whatever, the only time you won't catch it is if you refuse to let go of whatever's in your hands. Right?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like if you have both your hands full and you refuse to let go of whatever's in your hands, yeah, it'll hit you. But like if you're willing to like give a hand open, like you will grab this thing out of the air, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a teammate throwing it at you, whether it's an enemy throwing it at you, and just that's the only thing it does, and you can have up to 2 to 3 people attuned to this item, so you can all just like throw it between each other and blah blah blah, this and that. I don't know. Something as simple as that.
I'm just saying, in Avengers, Mjolnir did have 2 people attuned to it, so
yes,
yes. If they could tag team Mjolnir, I think it wouldn't be that dangerous to have 2 attunements.
Isn't Mjolnir lightweight sentient?
Yeah, it chooses, but that's why I think of attunement. Is the attuned is Thor and usually those of his family. Sure. I'm pretty sure Odin can wield it, just never does.
Odin for sure.
But
didn't anyone either commissioned it or created it or something?
Yeah. So if you think about it, I kind of like the idea that there is a level of attunement. It has to be absolutely the stars aligned for the right reason.
Sure.
So I could see it. All right. Well, what else do we have for you? It's 2-year anniversary. What else do we have? Do we have any other updates? Anything else that we need to talk about? Community stream voting is up. Let me double check the Discord, see where we're at with that. We've got a couple options. Hecate gave us some questions for the bios. So yeah, I did ask a question in the main chat of Discord, in the community chat, for questions you would like to know. Those will be questions specific for the bio. So these will be things if we can add them to be able to be unlocked as you pay for them. So Hecate's options: first experience and thought when introduced to D&D or a TTRPG. That may be more of a Q&A question. What's your favorite class for D&D? Okay, I like that one. That one will go in the bio. What homebrew subclass from community would you play in a one-shot? Okay, we could even just do our favorite community creation in the bio. Let's see. D20, W2 or 11 or higher, good fortune. What would it look like story-wise if High Point and Cineverse had a crossover? Okay, those might be more Q&A questions, but there's a couple in there I could add to the bios. Surprisingly enough, actually, that last one from Hecate, what would it look like story-wise if High Point and Cineverse had a crossover? That's already actually been discussed. We almost did that, but didn't end up hammering out all the details and didn't end up doing the gaming session. But there is technically 3 ways I would be able to see that being possible.
Yeah, I definitely think there's 100% a possible way to make this work. Definitely hammering out the details, figuring out what exactly would go where, who's what,
and most of those details would have nothing to do with players they would never know any of those details.
Exactly.
It would just be because I'm a strict, like I'm a stickler for things, if I say it happens, I have to know how, and I won't allow something not to have that. That would be a big issue to have, like just an open door into High Point. So there'd be some layers of understanding there, but it has been considered. I think the idea was your players were gonna I think we were gonna have them be able to stumble into High Point temporarily, so their characters as you DM them. But I think the idea was that we were talking about maybe doing like a specialty DM session where they like stumble into High Point for a gaming session just to kind of see, like, just as an example of a different DM style, and then they like pop back into your world.
Sure.
And I was trying to figure out how and where that could work. But yeah, that was a long time ago. I think it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it was a long time ago.
It was a minute. But I'm not opposed to finding a way to make that work. Yeah, I'm curious if it would be better with my adult players or my student players.
I honestly I don't know. I don't know. I think adults tend to have way more biases than kids.
Yes.
So it might be too much of a culture shock for them.
Possibly.
And they might also want to take it more seriously. Like, I could easily just adapt what your kids already have and not bother with any of like the transition.
Sure.
Adults might not be as apathetic to that.
Yeah.
Whereas, your kids wouldn't know the difference if they said, well, I can normally do this.
The D&D with my kids is already so ghetto. It's like,
well, that's what I'm saying. If the thing that I have learned, and especially being on TikTok now, the thing that I've truly learned about most what I would call like die-hard D&D fans, not even TTRPG fans, but just D&D fans and D&D players in the community, is that similar to the rules as written crowd, there is definitely a large portion of, in my opinion, a large portion of the community that rely on expectations. And I see this a lot, and I'm seeing it more and more, especially with some of the controversies that happen on TikTok and like the arguments in the comments.
Sure.
And we talked about this before about run-ins with other content creators that we get misaligned and there's miscommunication and misunderstandings. But the more I'm out there, the more aggression I see, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I don't mean in a toxic way, but the more I'm watching the people divide, the more my hot take on it is that the people that are the most divided, especially with those that are not rules as written, like rules lawyery, but that are very caked into this is my D&D game. Like min-maxers fall into this category. People who swear by modules fall into this category. My hot take is that you fall into those categories primarily not because of what the game offers in those categories, but primarily it's because it fulfills your need for expectation. Like we've talked about how min-maxing isn't fun in our opinion because there's no growth. You just know what you're going to get. You've already decided, you see it a million miles away. There's no guess. There's no real evolution. You just are. And that's definitely much more of a newer mindset. But when you min-max to the point to where you make a character that is completely detached from the story, the party, and anything that's been created, and you've just basically went off on your own, created something solely for the purpose of you to play it, you have, in my opinion, my hot take is you've now stepped into that realm of you are solely in a world of comfort because of expectation. These are the same people who, again, not rules lawyery, not the ones that are opening the book every second, but they're the ones that if you tell them something that is not what they know, even if they're not a rules lawyer, they get mad at it.
Sure.
And I'm starting to see this where trying to be someone who has my own world, has my own setting, has my own story, and just in general is trying to be a chill dude that just kind of wants to create a community that everybody can have an input and everybody can feel comfortable in creating their own story. I'm just finding it hard to be in that space sometimes, realizing that these people really aren't fighting against my creation. They're fighting against the unknown.
Yeah.
They're fighting against this idea that yours doesn't make sense or yours isn't what I know, and therefore it's not fun because I don't know what to expect. And if I don't know what to expect, I don't know how to win, or I don't know how to have fun, because it's those characters who don't tell you what their spell list are just so they can one up you when you try to cast it, or the players who want the DM to forget everything that their character can do so they can just be like, nah, and it's like, but you're playing with that mindset. Or the players who want to do something and then the dice roll doesn't let it happen, so they get overly upset and kind of ruin the game because they didn't get to pull off that move.
Sure.
It's just there's so much of the community, I don't want to say a majority, but there's so much of the community that is steeped in this metagame analysis of, I know what that should do, and if it doesn't do that, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult in a very narrative driven game world.
There's a lot of people who, and I've said this for a while, but every human being on this planet has a very unique language. The words that they say mean something different to them, even if they theoretically have the same definition for everybody that speaks that language. And as a result, a lot of the times I think when I talk about something like immersion, because immersion is very important from my perspective for both players and DMs. I think what a lot of people associate with their own personal immersion is how the rules are supposed to work, the expectations, the outcome of a specific particular event. So when they run into situations where the dice rolls say no, the DM says no, or things just don't work out the way that you think they're going to work out, there is this breakdown. There is this frustration. It's like, my world is breaking down. The view of the game that I'm playing is breaking down because things aren't turning out the way that I expect them to.
Yeah.
But we have such this like high view of expectations that that needs to get taken down.
Yeah.
That expectation, it's like, that's not what your immersion should be founded on. It should be founded on just the basics, the environment, the rules of the game, the consistencies throughout. Like, that is where you can use a good foundation for immersion to move forward.
You put it too. It's the consistency throughout. It's, to me, it's the same as saying I play FPSs, so if the throw grenade button isn't this, you're not doing your FPS right. And it's like, I get that FPSs have similarities, but I may have a different button layout based off of the game that I'm playing, right? Tarkov and Call of Duty are two vastly different first-person shooters, and their mechanics, the button layouts, are going to be different because of the granularity of each. Call of Duty is much more fast-paced, quick draw, very mostly boiled down, minimal.
Sure.
Tarkov's extremely in-depth, and every little thing is taken into account. So those button layouts aren't going to be as obvious. But that's where I feel that hesitation is. There are people out there who believe that if this button isn't this, then it's not the game I want to play because it doesn't fit my expectations of how that game should play.
Recognize that it's okay if you don't want to play this game, but that's what this game is.
Exactly. And instead of saying, well, you just don't know how to play
your game
FPS,
is bad, your game is stupid.
Yeah, that's not a real FPS. It's like, it's just not the FPS that you like. But that's where I'm starting to recognize is my hot take is just that there's a good portion of the community that is afraid to admit or just doesn't realize that they are too dependent on expectations. They are themselves rules lawyers, even if they say that they're not. There's so many people that still are, because when your expectations aren't met, that's when you get mad.
Yeah.
And that's where that got brought up, because saying the difference between like your kids and your adult players. Your kids just kind of go with it anyway, and so I don't have to convert everything they do to my game for them to care, right? I don't care, They don't care, we can have some fun. Your adult players, I just don't see them being able to as easily willy-nilly change fundamentally how they would play. I don't think that, again, they would expect,
and for them to still be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, they would expect what's on their character sheet. So most likely I'd have to give them all new character sheets, because they're like, well, I don't understand. It's not on my character sheet, so give me one of yours so I understand. Sure. And then we have to teach them all of that. And then they're going to get mad at all the other changes, whereas your kids would just be like, whatever. And if they say, well, on my character sheet, I normally roll this, I'm going to be like, cool. Right now, though, this is how you're going to roll that. And they wouldn't care. They'd just roll with it, and they'd forget about it and then go back to the way that you do it. But I can see, and not saying that they would.
That is the way I do it.
But I could see your adult players being like, but that's not how charisma works. It's like, right now, there's a different mechanic, and then they would want, and not that it's bad to have the whole explanation, but I feel like it would be more in a combative, this doesn't make sense, it's not what I'm used to.
Sure.
Versus it's just different. Okay, can I understand so I can play better? It's more of well, you need to explain it and make it make sense because I don't like it. And that's the difference in how you approach a new type of game. Approach it with curiosity, approach it with openness. Don't approach it with, you need to explain to me why I should play differently.
Sure.
And I feel like that's what other people do too often, is instead of give you that leeway to show off what you have, they demand that you convince them that your way is worth their time. And it's like, you're here. Isn't that enough? Like, you showed up, that should be enough. But if it's not enough to show up, if it's so much that you need to show up and then also know everything to enjoy yourself, then again, maybe the game is not for you. Like, I kind of run into this. It's why I don't play a lot of different TTRPGs. I look into them, but I just don't have the time to memorize all the rules. I don't mind doing one shots or sitting down with people and learning a new one in that moment, but I'm not going to go out of my way to shove my brain full of rule sets that I'm not going to use on a regular basis.
I'll say this. You mentioned a while ago people telling you, oh, just go play this system if you want that particular rule set. I'll go look at that system. And I'll go find that specific rule that you just mentioned, and I'll see if they do it better than I do, or if at the very least they inspire me to create a rule that I like better. Outside of that,
yeah, I don't have any.
I don't need to do the whole thing.
I just don't have an interest in learning the entire game and switching IPs and then trying to find a gaming group that I can do that with. And that's the thing, is a lot of these people seem to suggest that, yeah, you just pick up a new thing, you want to go do this, just play it. And it's like, but like, you suggest that I have a bunch of people that just will, at the drop of a dime,
whole
learn.
Ass undertaking, man.
Yeah, I don't, and maybe that, maybe there's a different way that they're doing it. Maybe again, this is exactly why I am a firm believer that it is the DM's responsibility to be the knowledge bearer of your game. And I don't mean that every player has to never know anything, but as a DM, as a GM, I feel that it is your responsibility to be the bearer of the general knowledge. You don't have to know every rule, but for me, when someone doesn't know how to do something, I'm willing to teach them. I'm willing to give them the knowledge and show them along the way. Whereas others want everybody to be on the same page. And that doesn't always work for GMs, because especially GMs who want to try all these different stories, it's very hard to get people to be interested in real life with all of, with all these different things. So
Yeah.
I don't mind testing those things out when I can go to a GM that says, hey, here's the basics, here maybe some reading that you want to do like initially, but otherwise I'll be here to guide you through it. And a good GM, in my opinion, does that. They kind of like a tutorial, they slowly work you through to the point at which you are now remembering what die to pick up when they ask for something.
Sure.
You're remembering where to look on your character sheet. And I feel like more GMs need to be open to that. But I do know that there are plenty that just have no time for that. They're just like, look, I told you what book you could read. That all the instructions were there. If you can't, and it feels bad because
then I can't help you.
some people don't want to memorize all that stuff. Some people can't. And some people don't want to play a game where every 5 minutes they have to break open a book. If every 5 minutes they're like, okay, I'll do that as soon as I teach myself. Not everybody learns that way. Not everybody can go read a book over a weekend and then remember what they read, verbatim. This is where I'm always saying, be helpful as a DM, be open to teaching your game, because it's not up to the players to know your game.
Sure.
So I love trying out new TTRPGs when I don't have to go out of my way to learn the entire system, when I can have a DM that I can go learn the basics and let the DM kind of guide me the rest of the way and give me guidance where I need it. So
For sure.
yeah.
No, I'm on board with that.
All right. But all in all, I'm excited. It seems like we have a good response from the community. So I think moving forward, we're going to try some new stuff on Fridays. I have some new ideas to bring your way.
Cool.
I think you're going to like some stuff. I think we have some unique ideas to do. But yeah, I'll talk with you offline. We will get y'all a date for this month's community stream. It's probably going to be the third week. Yeah, it's not this weekend. Yeah, 17th or 24th. We'll figure it out. We'll let you know soon. I can't remember which one it was, but it was going to be one of those two. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll make that work.
17th or 24th. We'll be back on Friday. Maybe D&D discussions. Maybe it won't be. Who knows? Who knows now? We're off the chains.
That's right.
We're no longer bound.
Wild card.
No longer bound by our history. Do whatever we want. We can be crazy.
I do whatever I want.
So we'll do that. Oh yeah, I was gonna check Discord to see how the voting has gone so far. Let's see. Has anyone voted for the community stream? 6 votes for the community stream already. Showing up.
Nice. Looking it up, friends.
So this month, we have 2 votes for pop culture builds.
Okay.
I think that one's losing its luster a little bit. I think we've done enough. I mean, we've only done like 2, but I think like it's not as
I think depending on the ones that we end up going with, like we could get some hype for it. And I think there's still one. I'm excited for the first one we do that isn't a level 20 build.
Oh, like where we have to kind of like create.
Where we're creating like maybe it's a level 5 build. Maybe this pop culture character isn't a level 20 fighter,
and then we
or
have
level 20 whatever.
Like extrapolate what that would look like.
Exactly. We're only giving them 5 levels, so let's see what that. So I'm excited for that.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we got 2 votes for pop culture builds. We have 3 votes for board game night.
Oh, slay! Very cool. Very cool.
Love that was like one of the things I was like, we'll give that a try. Maybe Vixie will join us and we'll go pop up on a board game and we'll play a board game all night with chat. And again, maybe we'll do that thing where we'll do someone in chat will get to join us and actually play as one.
I even like the idea of like rotating. So like somebody, like one person in chat gets to like make a move or make a choice or whatever. And then like people can like go through. So everybody gets to slowly participate.
With the queue section, we can do that. Like every time it's the chat's turn, someone in the next queue comes in and then they do that turn. And
exactly.
So chat has to work together. Yes. We could do that. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. So that's 3 votes. That's currently leading. And the last one has 1 vote. I thought this one would be kind of fun because I know I can set it up and it might just be a change of pace. Cooking with chat.
Okay.
And the cool part is Vixie has a World of Warcraft cooking book.
Oh,
So we can keep it on brand.
Cool.
We can keep it completely on brand and do a World of Warcraft
That's very
recipe.
cool.
So there you go, chat. That's what's at. So we have, let's see, what do we have? Pop culture builds is Cart and Marty. Board game night is Nugget, Soul, and Pokeniner, and cooking is Hecate.
Okay.
So those are the options. You guys can go vote for that by the end of the month. We have 13 days, which will be lining up right about for the 17th, if we do it that day. So yeah, let us know what you want. But I thought the cooking with chat would be kind of fun because I know we can do it. And the board game night I think would be kind of fun to test out. As it's always great to use community stream to test out new ideas if chat wants to see.
For
it.
sure.
I even did an AMA, but they don't want that yet. I think they feel like they can ask us anything anyway. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
it's more like if they want to get personal. That's really the only the AMA is
Sure.
just to get they can ask us anything about D&D related. But now I think with the bios though, now I think we're gonna have to be more cautious on the questions that we answer in chat, because now that we have the bios to unlock, we have to
We can't be giving stuff away for free.
yeah, like all of a sudden if there's like questions coming out, just be like, is that in the bio? Is that in the bio? Maybe you should unlock that for the bio. You know what I mean? Like
Put it in the bio.
we gotta do that. All right, I'm really excited. I wouldn't mind cooking with chat. I'm definitely not mad at board game night being in the lead though. So
Cool.
We'll see.
I think that's exciting.
I'm super excited to do more. I think I have some crazy ideas for what we can do. I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit. Like, I think the IRL streams, like going to a place and doing like paintings live would be super fun. I don't know what other kind of IRL stuff. I mean, we could do like a hike. I am looking to get some gear for hiking to do some recording on my hiking. So
okay.
might be able to do some live hiking streams.
Yeah, I saw the pictures you put up last time you went hiking. That was cool.
So trying to figure out just different ideas, what we can do to spice things up. I don't really want to be in like an IRL streamer. Like, I don't really want to do that like as, again, a mainstay. But it would be kind of cool to just get out of the studio and go do some stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Go see the world.
And I'm flexible, especially on Fridays. So
That's what I was thinking, is Fridays we could just kind of meet up somewhere, or, you know, just pick you up on the way to somewhere, and then
yeah.
we'll figure it out. Well, if you have any ideas for us, let us know. Pop it in Discord. We would like to know what you want to see us doing. Any other ideas for community streams, IRL streams, whatever it is, just let us know. Really curious what you want to see. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. I don't see any other... I don't think we have any other updates.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Keep an eye out for YouTube, on YouTube Wednesday for our new drop, new video drop. And yeah, we'll be back on Friday. I think that's it.
Groovy.
All right.
Love it, guys.
Cheers, y'all.
Deuces, my friends.
Oh, sorry. Soul, did we check out the website? The one for dice? I did. So that one's not really going to work for us. That one is a little more basic than what I was thinking, but that did get me on a rabbit hole, and I found about 4 other custom dice makers. They are quite expensive, but I am thinking now that, you know, I have been wanting to do a contest, so I'm going to reach out to a couple of them, and I'm going to see about there's one I can do online, and I'm going to see about creating a high point custom set. Either a high point one or maybe a custom set for us and our avatars, something. I will create a set, and depending on how much it actually comes out to, I may do that for a giveaway, or, you know, maybe we'll do like a pop culture build one, and then we'll do that for a giveaway. So we'll do one for like Alucard, we'll do one for Shazam. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I do like the idea of custom dice, not just a dice seller, but creating one that's like custom to our community. I think would be dope. Like, how cool would it be where I create a dice set for like any subscriber that hits like a year. So we get like 12 straight months. I can mail you a custom dice set that's like a Misfit Gamer Studios subscriber dice set.
That would be sick.
Right?
That would be very sick.
Like that's the kind of shit that I'm thinking of, is if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be expensive, but I'm gonna do it I'm not just gonna do it just to like try to hawk them, right? They're too expensive
Sure.
to just like hawk them for like $20, but I'll make a couple for some really nice reasons, so for good occasions, and I think that would be kind of a really cool way to honor people too, like who've promoted us and helped us out along the way. Being able to give them like some custom dice or something like that to show off, that would be kind of.
No, I totally love that. I super love that idea.
So yeah, thank you for the idea, Soul. We will let you know how that progresses. But yeah, I really want to get into this custom idea of being able to like just give memorabilia out, and I think that would be so much better. Like plushies are nice, especially because they're only limited, but there's dice sellers out there who get dice in bulk and then sell them in packages. I think creating one that you can only get from us.
I think that's gonna be the business 100%.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for the idea, Soul. We will get back to you on that. That'll be part of the stuff. But yeah, 2 years in, we ain't stopping. So
Ain't no stopping us now.
here's to another 2 years, guys.
Amen.
Cheers.
Deuces.
And just beat the devil out of it.